Friends, Jordan again fails to get enough votes to win the job. He's the second candidate that Republicans have run for the post since ousting former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Wisconsin Congressman Brian Stile, 1st Congressional District, joined Steve Scafidi this morning on WTMJ Now. He's been supporting Jordan, but more specifically supporting moving forward.
We have our ally Israel under attack. This is a moment where I hope my colleagues will look and say, although this may not be perfect, we do need to come together for the sake of the country.
So again, that breaking news, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan in a second vote failing to be elected Speaker of the House. Unclear where the Republican-led chamber goes from here. Milwaukee County Executive David Crawley says he is running for re-election. Crawley telling our sister station 101.7 The Truth.
There's so much more that we need to be doing, partnering with many of our local municipalities, partnering with the state of Wisconsin, and building more affordable housing units all across Milwaukee County, particularly in suburban neighborhoods where we may have the space.
Yeah, Crowley first elected as Milwaukee County Executive in 2020. In Israel,
justice must be done. But I caution this: while you feel that rage, don't be consumed by it.
President Joe Biden on the ground for about 9 hours now. It's early evening there. The president meeting and appearing with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking there to the Israeli people as Mideast tensions rise. The flashpoint for pro-Palestinian protests across the Middle East, including a march on the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon, an explosion at a hospital in Gaza, hundreds reported dead. Assumption of much of the Middle East, the cause of the protests was that it was due to an Israeli airstrike. Both Israel and U.S. showing evidence that it was actually a misfired rocket from Islamic Jihad from inside Gaza. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers.
President Biden says he is outraged and saddened by the loss of life at the hospital in Gaza and reiterated the U.S. assessment that Israel was not responsible.
Based on the information we've seen to date, it appears the result of an errant rocket fired by a terrorist group in Gaza.
A spokesperson for the National Security Council going further in a statement saying that while the U.S. continues to collect information, that current assessment is based on analysis of overhead imagery, intercepts, and open source information. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
And also today, President Biden announcing a deal with Egypt that would allow humanitarian assistance to flow from there to Gaza, and that the U.S. would contribute $100 million to that end. News about your money this afternoon. WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Dow Jones Industrial Average down about 175 points. Today it's at 33,816. The S&P 500 at 4337. That's off about 36 points today. And the NASDAQ down 137 points to 13,396. Time for the Annex Wealth Management Tax Smart Planning Review. They'll review, assess, and provide strategies you can use. Go to annexwealth.com/taxsmart. Sports, traffic, weather are next. Signing Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 12:03.
This report sponsored by Mr. Holland's Heating and Air Conditioning. Visit MrHollandsHeatingandAir.com.
We all have that one person in our lives that we admire. For me, it's my Uncle Aiden. Years ago, he made quite the name for himself as an electrician for the Amish. Yes, you heard that right. He was an Amish electrician. And let's just say Uncle Aiden didn't make too many house calls. Nowadays, Uncle Aiden would, no doubt, be envious of the efficient electricians at Mr. Holland's Home Services. Our talented electrical techs are always in demand. They arrive punctually as promised, and they get the job done right the first time. And they do it with integrity, confidence, and yes sir, yes ma'am manners. In other words, they're just like Uncle Aiden, only much, much busier. For lights, fans, switches, and whole house rewiring, backup generators, and more, let Mr. Holland's Home Services keep you on the grid. 866-992-1717 or visit MrHollandsHomeservices.com. If you're worried that your erratic electricity will blast you back to the horse and buggy days, we can help.
This is Matt Meitner, owner of Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Do you find yourself talking to your dog but feel like she's not listening to you?
Bella, sit!
Are you constantly repeating yourself but she's not following your directions?
Sit! Sit!
Frustrating, isn't it? At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we want to help you have a happy, confident, and obedient dog, and we also want to make the training process an enjoyable and worthwhile experience. Contact Sit Means Sit today to schedule a free consultation so we can create a customized training program so you are able to have the dog you want and deserve.
Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Sorry, we don't train husbands, wives, or kids.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano here for Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, a group of doctors I trusted with my knee surgery. The pain was real and options were important. My experience with each doctor was thorough, the appointments were timely, always close and easy access to the building. My mom felt the same way, I know, when she went there for her physical therapy appointments at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. I trusted their surgical team for my knee surgery, and I know they'll take care of you the way they did my mom and me. Make an appointment at orthowisconsin.com. Time for the WTMJ Sports Update.
In their second to last preseason game, the Milwaukee Bucks traveled out to Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder in a game they will want to soon forget. The young Thunder bringing it early on defense against the Bucks and eventually winning the game by a final score of 124-101. Malik Beasley led the Bucks in scoring with 20, and Giannis added 18. The Bucks will return back home on Friday night and will host the Memphis Grizzlies in the team's final preseason game. To the NFL, where the Packers are in the midst of their preparation for a Week 7 road trip to Denver for a matchup with the Broncos. On Tuesday, the team announcing they have added free agent running back James Robinson to their practice squad. And lastly, over to Major League Baseball, where the Philadelphia Phillies took Game 2 of the NLCS, this one by a final score of 10-0. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
Time to look at the roads with the Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver Traffic Report. Eastbound 894, left lane is blocked due to a disabled vehicle. It's just before Forest Home. Backups going almost into the Hale interchange. Not too bad, and that is the only trouble spot on the system this noon.
Traffic is sponsored by Harwood Place Senior Living. Join Harwood Place Retirement for a moving and downsizing seminar October 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. To RSVP or to schedule a tour, visit harwoodplace.org.
Increasing clouds in the storm team forecast today from meteorologist Brendan Johnson. Chance of showers moving in this afternoon and breezy as well with a high of 64 degrees. Early showers linger tonight, then mostly cloudy, low down to 53. Chance of scattered showers through Thursday and a high of 61 degrees. Friday's high 60 under partly cloudy skies. Saturday, scattered showers possible, mostly cloudy and breezy otherwise, at a high of 56. Sunday looks better, although cooler. Mostly sunny and a high of 51. In Madison right now, 60 degrees. Green Bay at 62, 60 in Waukesha, and in Milwaukee also 60 degrees. I'm Vince Vitrano, Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 12:07.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, it's the Jeff Wagner Show. Come join the conversation on the Old National Bank talk and text line at 855-616-1620. Old National Bank. Get old. Now, here's WTMJ's Jeff Wagner.
Good afternoon, Wisconsin. Welcome to the show. Vince Vitrano, before you leave. And by the way, if you want to not only listen to the show, but if you want to watch it, we make it easy for you to do that. Just go to YouTube and then click on the WTMJ channel, or alternatively, WTMJ.com, click the Watch Live button. Vince Vitrano, back in the day, in another life, we used to, as prosecutors, well, there were some criminals that were really, really clever and they were tough to catch, and then there were others that were what we would call the low-hanging fruit,
less tough,
right? Yes, or some people who we describe, the term was felony dumb. Now, this is a category, and people always say, "What do you mean by felony dumb?" Here is the story. All right, this is the way it's reported in the local newspaper. 2 Marquette University students were arrested after police say they repeatedly told people they were going to blow up the Al McGuire Center. That's, of course, the 3,700-seat arena on campus. They were doing it to document reactions for a YouTube prank. Mohammed Sanaa, 21, of Milwaukee, was charged with disorderly conduct, which is a misdemeanor, while a student videographer was arrested but hasn't been charged yet. According to the criminal complaint, Sanaa approached a Marquette University Police Department officer with another student recording for a YouTube video during a Golden Eagles volleyball match against Creighton on October 6th. Now, of course, all right, we know the world we live in. Sanaa asked the officer if he liked the caftan he was wearing. Caftans are traditionally worn by members of the Muslim faith. So, so good old Muhammad dresses up, in the traditional Muslim garb, goes up to a security person and says, "Okay, do you like this?" Okay, and they're filming it. The officer said it looked good. Sanaa then responded that he was going to blow this place up.
Okay.
After the officer told Sanaa he should not make statements like that, said, he was only joking. The students were not arrested at this point and walked away. Minutes later, a Marquette University student attending the match reported that both Sanaa and his videographer had been approaching multiple students in the crowd, saying they were going to blow up the building. The criminal complaint says about 2,000 people were in attendance at the time. Once they were arrested, they were searched. The police did not find any evidence to make the threat seem valid, so they didn't evacuate the building. Marquette University said both students are subject to the student conduct process, separate from legal procedures. So you have this moron who decides he's going to dress up in Muslim garb and walk around telling people that he's going to blow up the building and then filming reactions.
And this was supposed to be a joke, like funny?
Well, they were trying to do it for, I don't know, YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know, why do people do some things that they do on YouTube? But it's kind of like, you wake up one morning and say, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to walk around and tell people I'm going to blow up this building, and I'm going to dress in Muslim garb as well.
Right. Hilarious. And then were they hoping perhaps to bait someone into some sort of reaction?
Well, you figure
Right, yeah.
you figure that would be it, like, because you go up to the cop and you say, well, what do you think of this? And he says, and then you've got the reaction. But then when you don't get that reaction that you want, then you take it the next step and say you're going to blow things up.
That's helping. It's helping the climate. It's helping things. Great.
Exactly. The student conduct process is a confidential hearing between the students and a university conduct administrator. The administrator at Marquette will decide whether the case will be handled through an administrative hearing or the student conduct review board. Depending on the circumstance of a case, students can be subject to suspension, expulsion, or probation, all of which must be approved by Marquette's dean of students. Okay, some decisions are, some decisions are hard. I concede that. Others are easy. Wait,
should be an easy one.
You went to the volleyball game dressed in Muslim garb and told people you were going to blow up the building. Okay. To me, this is do not pass go, do not collect $200. See you later. Try to find another school to go to.
Here's a cart for your stuff. What time can your parents get here?
Right, exactly.
You are done here.
That's right. In our industry, in the radio industry, it's typically, you're whistled in on a Friday afternoon and they bring you that empty banker's box, your box of future endeavors, and you're kind of walked out. You're right. In this case, it's here's the cart, pack up your crap, out the door.
We wish you well.
We wish you well, yes. So that would be what we would describe as felony dumb. Go figure. I'm sure they thought it was a good idea at the time.
Did they post it?
Right.
You want to see how it turns out.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, they did this October. This is just given where we are right now in international relations and what's going on, this is exactly what we need. Some guy that dresses up in a traditional Muslim apparel and then goes around telling people he's going to blow stuff up. That's real smart. No, I think, can we send him off? That would be my vote. All right. This is the story that broke while I was gone. Trump has a giant financial lead. So they had to report the cash on hand numbers as of September 30th, and Donald Trump had $37.5 million cash on hand. Tim Scott, $13 million. I like Tim Scott. His campaign's going nowhere. Ron DeSantis had $12 million. Nikki Haley had $11 million. So the takeaway from this is that Trump, again, has this overwhelming lead. I continue to be the guy that says I do not think that Trump is going to be the Republican nominee, and I know a lot of you roll your eyes with that. I mean, truthfully, and I've been trying to make this case to anybody who will listen. It seems to me that voting for Donald Trump in the Republican primary is like a turkey voting for Thanksgiving. I mean, it's just, again, it makes absolutely no sense to me, but maybe that's what will happen. All right, let us get started with calls. Our number, 855-616-1620, which is the Old National Bank talk and text line. There has been, over the years, huge controversy about the whole issue with student lunches. And if you're somebody who believes that, well, if you come from a well-to-do school district and your parents are both doctors and make hundreds of thousands of dollars, the taxpayer should not be paying for your student lunch. That is, of course, a controversy that's there. But the argument that we always hear is, no, you don't understand. Kids cannot go through the day hungry. And it doesn't matter what their assets are. We have to make sure that children get a good, nutritious lunch, because otherwise they are not going to be able to learn. And that's why we have to have these balanced meals, and that's why we have all these type of standards. And it doesn't matter if you give the kids vegetables and fruit and they don't eat the vegetables and fruit. It doesn't matter. We have to put them on the plate so that they can eat. Okay, that is the argument, and let us accept that as the particular argument. Story in the Washington Post this morning: how Lunchables ended up on school lunch trays. Now, does everybody know what a Lunchable is? A Lunchable, for those of you who might not know, they're typically, Heinz makes Lunchables. And what they are, you can buy them in the processed food section of almost every grocery store. And what they are is they're little like snack packs, and it varies a little bit. But a typical Lunchable will have a couple pieces of cheese. It'll have a couple crackers. It will have a couple pieces of processed meat. Maybe it's turkey, maybe it's ham. It's kind of tough to tell. High in sodium, but processed meat, and it'll have a cookie. Okay, so there you have it. You've got all this different stuff, and that's it. And it's, you perhaps have had them for snacks. Maybe at some point in time, maybe the kid comes home after school hungry before lunch, you give it to that. Maybe you've even had like Lunchables as a snack for yourself. So let's face it, this is not necessarily, it's very, very processed. It's not a healthy alternative. You're not getting vegetables in it. The big thing about Lunchables, apparently the in thing is to make a Lunchable cookie, where you take the two crackers, you put the cheese, you put the mystery meat, and you put the cookie in the middle, and then, surrounded by both crackers, and then you eat it as a sandwich. That's the way you do this. Well, apparently, the Department of Agriculture has just changed its rules. Kraft Heinz's signature Lunchables, for the first time, are now eligible to be served to nearly 30 million children under the rules of the National School Lunch Program. So what's been going on is that, Kraft Heinz, which is, of course, the monster conglomerate, they have been wanting to get into the schools for years and years and years and years and years. And they have finally succeeded by making a couple alterations, essentially, to the cheese and the crackers they put in these packages. So now, instead of giving kids a hot meal, it is acceptable for a school district to give the kids the Lunchables as a school lunch. Our number is 855-616-1620. That is the Old National Bank talk and text line. Now, I understand we have these huge arguments about, hey, we need to have these school lunches and we need to get kids healthy food, et cetera, et cetera. In all seriousness, what is the point of having a national school lunch program if now schools can simply give, prepackaged, high sodium, extremely unhealthy Lunchables to the kids, and that passes for the so-called healthy meal that we are supposed to be providing them? 855-616-1620. That's the Old National Bank talk and text line. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-Lunchable, and I mean, I've had them. You've probably had them. Maybe you've given them to your kids from time to time. But the idea that this is now going to be our national school lunch program if districts decide to do it, what's wrong with that? Isn't that crazy? 855-616-1620. We discuss in a moment.
Don't go anywhere. Jeff Wagner is back right after this.
Hi, it's Brian Noonan from WTMJ Nights. I've got some big news. Starting now, you can download WTMJ Nights wherever you get your podcasts. That's right, you can enjoy our nighttime fun anytime you want. Find WTMJ Nights on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Local news, national stories, random silliness. You get a bit of everything on WTMJ Nights. So join me, Brian Noonan, weeknights from 6 to 9 here on WTMJ, the WTMJ mobile app, or wherever you get your podcasts. WTMJ Nights. Listen whenever and wherever you want.
Now, about your house. Eric Brown is the president of Siding Unlimited, your contractor for new windows, roofing, siding, decks, and a whole lot more. He knows about your house. So what do you know, Eric?
Siding is what pops on your home. Clean lines, beautiful accents, and wonderful colors can make your home really look amazing. Homeowners are always looking to add curb appeal when buying new siding, and a well-installed product from Siding Unlimited will definitely deliver a grand appeal. There is so much more to gain from replacing your siding other than the curb appeal you're already seeking. There is so much value in having new siding with low maintenance. Just an annual cleaning with the hose is all you really need to do. You can't get much lower maintenance than that. The process of replacing siding gives homeowners a fresh start, a new understanding knowing that we can peel back the old stuff and get a real in-depth inspection on the walls on your home and the structural integrity. How has the home performed over the past 20 years? We'll see it all when removing the old siding. There's a high percentage your home is missing the most important factor in siding a home, and that's a working water barrier. Many homes built in the 1990s and prior don't have a water barrier beneath the siding, and homes that were built in the 90s that do have one probably have a water barrier that was installed incorrectly. New siding replacement assures us that we install the water barrier correctly and protect the home moving forward. Our process always includes adding insulation board to the wall. This gives you a water barrier underlayment and additional R value, which is an energy coefficient, so warmer walls, adding more value to the project than the expected curb appeal. As the new siding goes back on, we know your home will be ready to manage water well into the future and look amazing doing so.
Eric and his crews at Siding Unlimited are your go-to contractor here for siding and also replacement windows, roofing, and decks. Take the next step. Check them out at sidingunlimited.com. Siding Unlimited, siding and a whole lot more.
Back for more. Here's WTMJ's Jeff Wagner.
855-616-1620, which is the Old National Bank talk and text line. I swear you can't make this up. Lunchables, the product by Kraft Heinz. And again, you've probably had them. The packages, like some mystery meat, turkey, ham, whatever, couple crackers, couple pieces of cheese, and a cookie. All right. That has now been approved by the Department of Agriculture as a successful nutritional school lunch. And according to the numbers that I'm looking at, it is possible that soon that will be what is going to be served to millions of kids. Almost 30 million kids will be eligible to have that as a healthy lunch. Have we gone through the looking glass? You know, one of our crank complainers says, well, seems to me that you're mad that they throw away vegetables, and now you're mad that they're, giving away Lunchables. It sounds like you're mad that they're having lunch. No, it's not that at all. But this is the absolute idiocy of this. First of all, if the justification is we have to have healthy lunches, who in their right mind thinks Lunchables would qualify as a healthy lunch? Is it something that's a filler? Absolutely. But it's a couple crackers, a cookie, some mystery meat, and a piece of cheese. Who thinks that would be a healthy lunch? As far as, yes, they serve vegetables and the kids don't eat them, well, what's the purpose of giving people food that you know that they're going to throw out? You have to come up with a better way if you really believe that we need to teach these kids to eat healthier. Jeff, since nutrition isn't important for a school lunch, why not just give them a Snickers bar, a bowl of buttered popcorn, and a soda? Absolutely. And I'd say give them a Mountain Dew. That's right. Snickers bar. Here's a bowl of buttered popcorn. Here's a Mountain Dew. Texter says it reminds me of the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. Right. Exactly. That's the whole idea. If we're now moving away from the idea of, healthy lunches, okay, that's fine. But really, it's like the Pop-Tarts that you give for breakfast. We're going to give people Pop-Tarts for breakfast. Then we're going to give them Lunchables for lunch. And then we're going to make ourselves feel good. You want to talk about virtue signaling? We're going to pat ourselves on the back saying, hey, we're doing all sorts of things to make sure that these kids don't, that the kids have all the nutrition that they need and they're able to learn because they're in school and they're not hungry. I mean, really? Really? Let's talk to Jeff. My dog wouldn't even eat Lunchables. So I don't know. My dog, my dog, she loved cheese and stuff like that. Number of people are, of course, pointing out that John Kerry's wife is one of the heirs to the Heinz fortune, and I don't know if there was any influence there. But this has been something that's very, very well connected. Industry has been pushing. Heinz has been pushing this for the longest time because once you get into schools, you can see where this goes. You got the school district, they're saying, okay, do we want to make our own food? Do we want to hire people to prepare the food, or can we just buy this stuff from Heinz and give everybody this on a regular basis and have that qualified? No question about this. And that's, of course, the idea that's there. Jeff, I wouldn't have an issue as long as the Lunchable is tailored to be a meal rather than a snack. Well, I think you can make the strong argument that the Lunchable is never going to end up being the meal. But if this is the virtue signaling, if this is how taxpayer dollars get spent, here, we're going to feel good about ourselves. We're going to feel good. We're giving these kids nutritious lunches. Well, I don't know at what point in time a Lunchable ever became a nutritious lunch. And, of course, Michelle Obama, who was big, in 2009, 2010, in trying to promote, healthier standards for kids. You wonder how Michelle Obama feels about Joe Biden's initiative that now makes Lunchables the nutritious meal. Go figure. When we come back, what's the end game? Stick around.
More Jeff Wagner right after this.
What time is it?
Do you have the time?
What time is it?
What time is it? Game time! It's Lillard. He got the shot off.
Damian Lillard is officially a Milwaukee Buck, and we can get used to this.
Lillard, long range three, and it's good! At the buzzer! Damian Lillard! Are you kidding me?
Listen to it all right here. We are the home of the Milwaukee Bucks, WTMJ.
Haul away big savings this weekend at Fleet Farm's Truckload Savings Event. Like 40-pound bags of superior hardwood fuel pellets, 2 for $11. Morton Clean and Protect water softener pellets are only $5.89 a bag. Save on 40 pounds of black oil sunflower seed, just $18.99. And get a free $15 Fleet Farm gift card with select Science Diet pet food. Stock up on everything you need for everyday life at Fleet Farm.
It's spooky season, and we have monster deals at Heiser. Is your vehicle becoming a money-eating monster, causing your wallet to be as see-through as a ghost? Sleepless nights causing you to look like a zombie? Oh! Don't scream. Heiser will gladly take control of that scary monster. No tricks, just treats. Heiser will save you money and sleep on any of our new Chevrolets, Cadillacs, Toyotas, Fords, and Lincolns. And that includes our used vehicles, too. Because at Heiser, today's your day.
See dealer for complete details.
Smart investors make their savviest moves at year-end. Let us show you how to be one of them. Go to creativeplanning.com/radio and request your free end-of-year plan, an essential blueprint for maximizing wealth, minimizing taxes, and setting the stage for a prosperous year ahead. Making the right moves before the end of 2023 could put some serious money back in your pocket. This offer is only available till Monday at midnight. Go to creativeplanning.com/radio to request your free plan today.
Is outdoor living limited at your place? Well, imagine a deck, a patio, pergola, fire pit, maybe even an outdoor kitchen in your yard. Outdoor Living Unlimited is a local, family-owned company that consults, designs, and builds these things. They're the best. Let them make Outdoor Living Unlimited in your yard like they did in ours. We are Wisconsin. We live outdoors as much as possible. Make the most of it with help from Outdoor Living Unlimited. See OutdoorLivingUnlimited.com.
You're listening to Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
So very glad to have you with us. Well, it's not getting any better in the Middle East. Joe Biden just left Israel after and I don't fault Biden for making the attempt. He announced that he was going to fly to Israel, and there was going to be all these efforts for like in-person diplomacy. He was going to meet with Israeli leaders. He was scheduled to meet with a number of Arab leaders, including the president of Egypt, to try to see if you could work things out. All that fell apart. He had no meetings besides his meetings with Israeli officials. Flew in, left 8 hours later, and nothing was gained on that. And by the way, I don't fault President Biden for this. I applaud him for making the attempt. It did not work out, in part because of the latest story. What happened, if you haven't been following this, is a day or so ago, a hospital in Gaza was bombed. 500 people dead, children, sick people, doctors, etc. the militants, Hamas, blamed Israel for the strike. It appears, and of course we always have the fog of war, but it appears that this is a complete and total lie. According to the United States and Israel and all this documentation that's out there, what it appears happened is these were rockets that Hamas or Hamas allies were sending into Israel. Well, the problem with rockets is occasionally they go off course or they come up short or whatever. And it appears, again, there's fog of war, but it appears that Hamas is the one that actually bombed the hospital. I don't think they intended to send rockets in. They intended to send rockets into Israel. The rockets fell short, and they ended up falling on the hospital. But regardless, they blame Israel. This was an Israeli strike. And, of course, you have all these people out there that hate Israel that are willing to – it's like, okay, we don't care what the evidence is. If the radicals who want to destroy Israel blame Israel, it has to be true. So that really complicated matter. The United States is saying, hey, look, our current assessment is that Israel is not responsible for this hospital blast. It was rather rockets that ended up coming short. But anyways, once you have these pictures of this hospital that's bombed and things like that, that has further inflamed the Arab world. So a lot of the Arab leaders didn't want anything to do with meeting with Joe Biden. So he's heading back to Washington, D.C., not having accomplished, at least overtly, many of his goals. There is, I think he did convince Israel to allow humanitarian aid to come to portions of Gaza under certain kind of supervisions. But as far as opening the border with Egypt and all these type of things, it did not work out that way. But again, I don't know what Biden could have done given the tension that is out there. So now, Israel massing for a ground strike into Gaza. And this... And I don't mean to sound like a broken record about this, but I understand some people might not understand what you're exactly talking about here. The Gaza Strip is at its widest. It's 7.5 miles wide, and it's about 25 miles long. And it's the strip of land that separates Israel from Egypt. And in that area, over 2.5 million Palestinians live in just incredibly cramped quarters. It's like New York on steroids, high apartment buildings and things like that. For the last 10 to 15 years, Hamas, which is the terrorist organization which has controlled Gaza, has been digging underground tunnels. So there's underground tunnels connecting all these different buildings, underground tunnels where Hamas militants could be hiding, where the hostages could be kept. When you're talking about a ground invasion, you're talking about the ultimate in urban warfare and your high-rise buildings. So, if you're part of the Israeli Defense Force, you're going into Gaza. You're going building by building. So you are essentially fighting your way uphill in all of these different buildings, with militants armed to the teeth who are shooting down at you. And of course there's civilians mixed in with this, which is the way Hamas operates. A ground invasion, it's just impossible to estimate what the human carnage is going to be. At the same time, Israel is committed to eliminating Hamas as an entity, because they believe, correctly in my opinion, that Hamas is all about taking over Israel and killing Jews. That's what they are about. And interestingly enough, I think the vast majority of Palestinians do not support Hamas and would like to live in some form of peace, whether it's Israeli occupation or whether it's a two-state thing or whatever. But none of that can happen until you root out Hamas. Unfortunately, you probably can't root out the Hamas militants unless you do a military strike. Meanwhile, you've got this incredible humanitarian situation because you've got all these people in Gaza who, if they want to get out, they can't get out. Because Egypt, on the southern border, Egypt wants nothing to do with Hamas militants. So they can't tell, if we start letting people out en masse, we can't tell, who's a Hamas militant versus who's just an average citizen. and they don't know what to do with the refugees. And again, they don't want to be bringing terrorists into Egypt because then they're afraid that they're going to have to deal with that on their soil. So it's an absolute, complete mess. Meanwhile, you have tensions all across the region and across the world, which are escalating. Our number is 855-616-1620. Here is my question. Whenever it comes to military conflict, I think one of the lessons of the latter part of the 20th century, over and over again, is you have to ask the question, what is the end game and how do we achieve it? You go back to the U.S. involvement in Vietnam in the 60s and early 70s. What does victory look like? What was the ultimate objective? What was the end game? You could ask that about the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. You could ask it about the United States involvement in Afghanistan. You can look at conflicts all over the world and ask the question, what is the end game? What are we trying to achieve and how reasonable is that? So let me open up the phone lines because this is just a huge issue. And my question is, what is the end game? Look into your crystal ball and tell me, how do you see this ending? Because right now, as I've been saying for the last week or so, if this isn't one heck of a mess, it'll do till one heck of a mess gets there. Meanwhile, everybody's afraid of escalation. Is Hezbollah, which is the radical militant group that's in Lebanon, there to the north of Israel. What is Iran going to do? And of course, right now it's been relatively confined, but all you need is a shooting war to start off on Hezbollah to get involved, Iran to get involved. That maybe pulls the U.S. in, not necessarily with ground troops, but maybe with providing support and bombing missions and things like that. What is the end game? How do you see this working out? 855-616-1620. That's the Old National Bank talk and text line. We discuss.
Stick around. Jeff Wagner is right around the corner.
As a discount real estate broker, I'm often asked why we charge less. And there are a few reasons. We charge less because we can. Low overhead allows for it. Our low commission structure also gives us an edge over the firms that will give you everything we will, but charge you substantially more. And lastly, we charge you less so that I can sleep at night. I figure a fair rate for an honest day's work always helps with that. This is Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, where we'll make your move simple and affordable. Benefit-realty.com. I'm Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, where we make your move simple and affordable. Simple, because all you'll need to do is let us market your home with full MLS marketing and show you all the homes available that fit your needs and your price range. Affordable, because in real estate, that's the name of the game. And 3.5 to 3.9% real estate commission with no upfront fees is truly as affordable as it gets. So let's get your home on the market and begin your search. Benefit-realty.com.
Doesn't it seem like you never have anything to wear? That's why I shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores. Whether it's a designer top, jeans, an adorable skirt, or cute accessories, I always seem to find something I like. And at prices I love. Gently used women's clothing and accessories for far less than you thought possible. At St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield and 23rd in Lincoln in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Team Pella executing incredible plays. Products with limited lifetime warranties. Amazing innovations. Blinds and shades between the glass. Stylish windows with hidden screens that make game days a breeze. Installation completed in as little as a day, leaving no mess or hassle. Just perfect results. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com. 6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 10/31/23.
Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
Eight 616-1620. So what is the end game here? Because you look at what's going on in the Middle East now. You have Israel, who from their perspective has been violently and viciously attacked by Hamas. Over 1,000 Israelis dead. Hamas making it very, very clear that they have no intention of peacefully coexisting with Israel. Hamas entrenched in Gaza, 2.5 million people living in a small area. They are, quote unquote, governed by Hamas. Most of them don't support the mission of Hamas, but Hamas is there. Hamas is being armed by people in Iran and things of the like, and they're committed to the destruction of Israel as a state and killing Jews specifically. In the meantime, you have, so they're committed to eliminating Israel. Israel is of the point saying, hey, look, we cannot tolerate this. You in this surprise attack, you killed over 1,000 of our citizens. You are taking hostages. Our goal is to eliminate Hamas. Meanwhile, you have the entire Arab world surrounding Israel that is unhappy with Israel. And then, of course, you have the civilian casualties, which result from any military action that Israel is going to take. How does this end? What is the end game? Let's start with Mike in Illinois. Mike, you're first. Hello.
Good afternoon, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How does this end?
So, in the immediate, I would say the eradication of Hamas as well as getting the hostages back would be the end game in the immediate. Down the road, I would say I two-solution state, and I think there's always going to be an uneasy peace between the two. There's always going to be terrorists, like you said, Hezbollah is there. Iran always is going to be there. Of course, you'd want, ideally, to, have peace between everyone, but I think there's always going to be an uneasy, fragile peace between them. But I think a two-state solution will be the next step after eradication of Hamas and getting the hostages back.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for the call. I mean, I think that's and the key to a two-state solution, which would be Palestinians having a degree of self-government, Israel also having self-government in that area. But the key to that is the elimination of Hamas, because the truth of the matter is Israel, which rightly feels that it has been attacked and has a need to defend itself, if nothing else for deterrence, Israel is committed to seeing the elimination of Hamas as a viable entity. But there's no way you can do that without the military involvement that's there. That's why it would be refreshing to see some of the Arab states that surround Israel. That you see, none of them want Hamas in it. That's why, again, as I was saying earlier, that's why one of the reasons why Egypt's closed the border. They don't want these terrorists pouring into Egypt, because then they're afraid they're going to operate out of Egypt, or alternatively, they might decide to try to operate to overthrow the government of Egypt, so that they don't want them there. But it would be interesting if, again, a number of the Arab states could put aside the ultimate hatred for Israel and recognize that there's not going to be lasting peace in that region until you eliminate Hamas. The other point a number of our texters are making is that, of course, the ultimate problem here is ultimately Iran, which funds and helps supply Hamas. They fund and help supply Hezbollah, all these different groups, and they create instability in the region. One of the theories, and again, history will tell us whether this plays out, is Saudi Arabia. And this is one of the things that the U.S. was working on. Saudi Arabia was on the verge of recognizing Israel. That would be a huge step, again, to bringing peace in the region. That's the last thing that Iran wants. So, one of the theories is that Iran, either directly or tacitly, decided to encourage or support this Hamas attack on Israel, knowing it would set back the peace process that was going on between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And there's no question it has, because now it's very, very difficult to see how Saudi Arabia, at this point in time, while the conflict is going on, how they're able to set up a deal where they recognize Israel. Jeff, militarily destroying Hamas and thereby killing many civilians will serve strongly as recruitment propaganda for radical groups opposing the West and Israel. Okay, and I accept that. That's, I guess, the basic premise. That's the argument as to how we got Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. The problem, though, with that is that if you don't destroy Hamas, well, all you're doing is just saying, okay, Hamas is going to continue to operate, and we know that sooner or later, as soon as Hamas can figure it out, there'll be more attacks killing more Israeli civilians. That's it. Jeff, the term a tale as old as time applies here. These conflicts go back to biblical times, and they'll continue to fight over that land forever, but another ceasefire will come eventually. You would hope that is the case, hopefully sooner than later on that situation. Jeff, Israel also has to pull settlers out of the West Bank and stop expansion if there's going to be a two-state solution. Good luck with that. I detest Hamas, but Israel has to really want a two-state solution. I do not believe the present government does. There's no question about it. Jeff, I don't understand why the U.S. is even involved in this mess. We should be focusing on our country and the issues we face: open borders, crime, human trafficking, etc. Well, I mean, I understand that there's this argument out there that says that the United States has no role in global affairs, that we shouldn't be sending aid to Ukraine to stop the Russian invasion. What do we care if Russia takes over Ukraine? Well, okay, we care if Russia takes over Ukraine because, as I've argued before, if Russia needs to be fought, I mean, you look at what's been going on. Putin's army is just being devastated in Ukraine. And so would you rather have that army devastated in Ukraine, or would you rather have them invading a NATO country where the U.S. involvement has to be more direct? Well, I'm going to vote on, helping destroy Putin's army, given who Putin is, on Ukraine soil. I'd much rather have that happen if we accept the premise that Russia is involved in aggression. Same thing is true in the Middle East. There's just no question about it. You've got to figure out a way to stop the aggression. And I don't know how you do that as long as Hamas is still in a position where they're going to continue to lob rockets into Israel. Back with more in just a minute. This is Jeff Wagner, WTMJ.
More Jeff Wagner right after this.
Disability Rights Wisconsin's Medicare Part D helpline is here to help disabled or elderly Medicare beneficiaries with questions about their Part D prescription benefit. The Part D helpline may be able to help you save money on your Part D premium, deductible, and copays. Medicare annual open enrollment period runs October 15th through December 7th. For free, unbiased assistance, please call the Disability Rights Wisconsin Medicare Part D helpline any time of the year at 1-800-926-4862. 1-800-926-4862.
This is WTMJ Jeff Wagner for the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin's Health Network. Lifelong mobility is dependent upon healthy joints. This month, we talked to Dr. Michael Decker, an orthopedic surgeon with the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin's Health Network. We learned how timely treatment of joint problems can help keep you moving, why these conditions are so common. We learned about non-surgical options and more. Listen to that conversation and all our previous everyday health discussions simply by visiting the features drop-down menu at WTMJ.com.
This is Monica from Kessler's Diamonds. Did you know that Sweetest Day is fast approaching?
And it's celebrated on Saturday, October 21st.
I'm telling you this because I think some of you may have forgotten what Sweetest Day is all about and might need a little reminder.
The first Sweetest Day was celebrated in October during the early 1920s by a group of confectioners who distributed over 20,000 boxes of chocolates to orphans, the elderly, and the poor.
Sweetest Day is celebrated primarily right here in Wisconsin and Michigan.
Sweetest Day is a day for showing affection with gifts, candy, or acts of kindness to those you care about and those who could use a little support.
I'm sure there's someone in everyone's life that could use little affection, kindness, or support.
Stop into Kessler's and pick up some chocolates as our gift of kindness to you.
And while you're here, shop for a gift for someone special in your life and spread the kindness.
Kessler's has plenty of gifts starting at just $75 to help you celebrate Sweetest Day.
Happy Sweetest Day from everyone at Kessler's.
Shop online or find the Kessler's nearest you at KesslersDiamonds.com.
For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
SemperFiRoofing.com.
Leave low yields in the dust and never look back. Rev up your return on investment with Syngenta. Our innovative portfolio of crop protection products outperforms and outyields any deal, giving you higher yield and profit potential at the finish line. Syngenta, where better yield is the better deal. Always read and follow label instructions.
All right, let's see here.
Acuron corn herbicide. Powerful weed control? Check. Long-lasting residual? Check. Proven crop safety? Check. Acuron checks all the boxes, which is why it outperforms and out-yields all other corn herbicides by 5 to 15 bushels an acre. Talk to your local Syngenta retailer or visit findmorebushels.com to discover your revenue potential today. Always read and follow label instructions. Acuron is a restricted use pesticide.
Welcome back to Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
A couple people are saying, well, Jeff, we heard that Hamas was elected by the Palestinians, so why do you say that most of them don't support him? Hamas took over in 2006, 2007, I think 2006, and that's the last election that they've had. And I think you can make, I don't even know how legit that election was, but there haven't been elections since then. And I think, I still continue to believe that I think most people in Palestine, they do not support the military attacks against Israel and things of the like. But as long as it is Hamas that controls this, and if you listen to interviews with Hamas leaders, they're very clear. They're not about governance. They're about destroying Israel. And everything else is secondary to that. That's why you have military command centers that are based in mosques. That's why you have schools and apartment buildings that also house, again, the military operations of Hamas. So it's not like, hey, we're going to bomb a military base or something like that. No, if there's a military operation, a military center that's operating on the third floor of an apartment building, well, and you want to take that out, you got to take out the apartment building. And Hamas does that with the intention of, again, deterring attacks and responses from Israel, which has, part of the mistake that Israel has made, in my opinion, over the course of the last 15 years has been assuming that they could negotiate with Hamas, assuming that they could get the radicalization to stop, assuming that Hamas was in some respects a normal, what we would call government. They're not. It's a terrorist organization that's bent on destroying Israel. And that is the problem that Israel has. And until you eliminate Hamas, I do not see any potential for peace in the region. The problem, again, is, though, that as long as Hamas is being backed by some of the regimes like Iran in that region, it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, to completely and totally destroy them, at least not without massive civilian casualties, which is why it is, again, it's unfortunate that the Arab world, the more responsible Arab countries in the region, wouldn't be doing everything they possibly could to cut off Hamas from access to arms and munitions and all those type of things, so they would not be in a position to wage war. Once you eliminate Hamas, well, then you can start talking about, again, diplomatic sort of solutions, and you can figure out what that might ultimately look like. But as long as Hamas is there, it seems to me it's very, very difficult to work out a solution. And I guess, do I think Israel can take care of business? Do I think Israel has the ability to eliminate Hamas? Yes, it does. My biggest concern is that in doing so, what you're going to find happen is you're going to find Iran using this as a justification to further escalate tensions and attacks in the Middle East. Because let's understand, Iran wants to wipe Israel off the face of the map. They want to kill Jews in Israel and pretty much everywhere. They want to kill the infidels. And we got to recognize maybe we shouldn't be giving $6 billion in oil money to Iran. Back with more in just a minute. This is Jeff Wagner, WTMJ.
Stay tuned. Jeff Wagner returns after this on WTMJ. Start planning for your retirement today so you enjoy retirement tomorrow. Saturday mornings at 11 and Sunday mornings at 7, where Tony Drake and his Education First team discuss retirement trends, taxes, inflation, and Social Security benefits to help you achieve a more secure financial future.
Join us this week as we discuss pending tax legislation and how this might affect your retirement.
Retirement Ready with Tony Drake on WTMJ.
Hosting this holiday season? Get your home dressed to impress. Ken Michaels Furniture is having a pre-holiday sale to get your new furniture to you in time. We carry thousands of fabrics, leathers, and wood finishes so you can create a look that's as unique as you are. Order now and wow your holiday guests with personalized furniture. With discounts starting at 30%, you can't beat these deals. Stop in today at Ken Michaels Furniture on Capitol Drive in Brookfield and Highway 100 in Greenfield. Give yourself the gift of beautiful, long-lasting furniture this holiday season. Our pre-holiday sale at Ken Michaels Furniture will ensure that your pieces arrive before the holidays. We're offering 35% off Amish hardwood dining sets in your choice of wood, shape, and finish. Create a holiday table that's ready for your teenager's Instagram. If you order now, you can have the furniture of your dreams by Christmas. Stop in today at Ken Michaels Furniture on Capitol Drive in Brookfield and Highway 100 in Greenfield.
Gillette Intimate gives guys a gentle and easy shave. Don't treat yourself like junk. Respect it with Gillette Intimate, the best a man can get. Buy now at a retailer near you.
According to the U.S. debt clock, our debt is over $32 trillion and climbing. The question is, how do we pay it off? One of the most likely answers is increasing taxes. Now think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now when rates are historically low, or later when rates are potentially higher? At Drake & Associates, we can help you create a plan so your retirement is tax efficient as possible. If you'd like to continue your education, we have our Retirement Ready Toolkit, which includes guides on retirement tax savings. To receive this complimentary toolkit, call or text TAX to 414-409-9982. That's calling or texting TAX to 414-409-9982. When taxes go up, will you be ready? Call or text now.
Investment advisory services provided by Drake & Associates, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through a separate company, Loft Financial Advisory Group, LLC, a Wisconsin insurance agency. Clients are under no obligation to purchase any recommended insurance products.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
Coming up after Craig Matzik's top of the hour news, consequences for taking a position. I want to revisit something we talked about earlier in the week. Got interesting reactions to it, and the issue is not going away. Here's earlier this week, the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh announced 140 layoffs and 76 voluntary retirements. Attendance at UW Oshkosh, about 15,000 or so. That's the number of students. And they have. There's going to be a number of positions, 216 positions lost to layoffs and early retirements. Another 34.5 vacant positions will not be filled. Altogether, the university said the moves will save about $14.7 million, including $8 million from the layoffs, $4.5 million from voluntary retirements, and almost $2 million for not filling open positions. The university is facing an $18 million budget shortfall. So you have a number of people who are saying, well, we can't do this. We can't cut these positions. It's just wrong, et cetera, et cetera. Have you no interest in public education? Here's the problem. For years and years, you've had schools, public and private, which have continued to grow and they've continued to hire people, and that has not, the number of people hired has not been supported by the students who are making the decisions to enroll. Now, I'm not sure if these layoffs, if this is the magic number, the different positions that are being lost or not filled, et cetera. Maybe it's too much, maybe it's not enough. But you don't, in the real world, if a business has, you've got 15 salespeople and you decide that the work that's out there, the number of clients, et cetera, can't support 15, well, what you do is you get rid of 5, right? You get down to manageable numbers. If you're running a business that has architects and you've got 20 architects on staff, but there's only work for 10, what you end up doing is you go down to the 10 architects. That's just the way it works in the real world. There's been this idea in academia that, once people get in, doesn't matter whether there's not enough students to justify their particular positions or whatever, we're going to continue to keep them. That just doesn't make sense. Okay, when we come back, college campuses, tolerance, consequences. Stick around.
Stay tuned. Jeff Wagner returns after this on WTMJ.
you go looking for an area rug that you'll have to settle for because you think that the one you really want will be out of your budget, come to Design Exchange, where you'll find a formidable selection of Oriental, Persian, and other wool area rug choices at 25 to 70% off retail. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor on consignment at a value. Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
If you're trying to find really good, high-end, distinctive furniture, the kind they just don't make anymore, then come to Design Exchange. But you better get here quickly, because the best furniture we take in on consignment doesn't usually last long. It may be vintage, it may have once been out of your range, but now you'll find it's priced right. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value.
Design Exchange.
Keeping you informed, keeping you safe, keeping you engaged and entertained. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 1 o'clock, it's 65 degrees. Chance for showers early tonight, mostly cloudy with a low of 53. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Greg Matzik. In Israel today, President Biden on the ground. Early evening overseas, the president meeting and appearing with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as Mideast tensions rise. An explosion at a hospital in Gaza has left hundreds dead. Both Israel and the U.S., however, believe it was actually a misfired rocket from Islamic Jihad and not the result of an airstrike. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers.
President Biden says he is outraged and saddened by the loss of life at the hospital in Gaza and reiterated the U.S. assessment that Israel was not responsible.
Based on the information we have seen to date, it appears the result of an errant rocket fired by a terrorist group in Gaza.
A spokesperson for the National Security Council going further in a statement saying that while the U.S. continues to collect information, that current assessment is based on analysis of overhead imagery, intercepts, and open source information. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Back in the United States, Ohio Republican Jim Jordan lost his second vote for Speaker today, receiving 199 votes. Republicans now expected to gather behind closed doors again this afternoon to discuss if Jordan should be put up for a third round or if they need to go down another path. Shortly after the vote inside Capitol Hill, Republican Mike Lawler, one of 22 Republicans to vote against Jordan, tells ABC's Rachel Scott he's not likely to throw support his way.
It's not a question of my support. It's a question of do you have the votes to get to 217? And he doesn't. And in fact, he lost votes on this ballot, and I suspect if it goes to a third ballot, he's going to lose more votes.
Closer to home, Milwaukee County Executive David Crawley says he's running for re-election. Crawley tells WTMJ Now he's put the county on a better financial path.
For the first time in 2 decades, Milwaukee County has a surplus, and we're able to actually invest back into the community, into our parks, into our transit, into the people who call this place home. And for me, it's about how do we continue this momentum that we've been on.
Crawley was elected to his position in 2020.
You find the spot and I'll find the money. You be the pretty and I'll be the funny. You plant the flower.
Blake Shelton is coming to Milwaukee. Country music star will play Fiserv Forum on Saturday, February 24th, part of his Back to Honky Tonk tour. It's a North American tour. Tickets will go on sale next week. Time for news about your money and Annex Wealth Management market update. All the indices in the red today. The Dow currently down 180 points at 33,813. The S&P 500 down about 39 points at 43,34. And the Nasdaq also down today, just over 150 points at 13,381. News is sponsored by Annex Wealth Management's Money Talk. Check it out Saturdays at 10 right here on WTMJ. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time is 1:03.
This report is sponsored by the White Lace Inn, Door County. Plan your romantic getaway today.
Hello, Dennis from White Lace Inn here in beautiful Door County. White Lace Inn has been providing gracious elegance, sincere hospitality, and relaxing getaways since 1982. Wander garden pathways that connect each of the 4 Victorian homes, 18 rooms and suites that make up White Lace Inn. White Lace Inn is just minutes away from restaurants, museums, shopping, hiking, bike trails, and all of Door County. When evening comes, return to White Lace Inn, relax in front of a romantic fireplace, and step into an inviting whirlpool bath for 2. Then climb into a luxurious bed for the night. The next morning, enjoy a delicious White Lace Inn breakfast. served with Door County coffee. White Lace Inn consistently voted one of the most romantic inns of America. Whether it's a relaxing getaway, birthday, anniversary, honeymoon, or small destination wedding, amazing memories are waiting you at White Lace Inn. Open every night of the year. To find out more, take a tour at whitelaceinn.com. That's whitelaceinn.com.
Hi, this is Wayne Larrabee, the voice of Green Bay football. You know, fans count on me to make the right call every time, and I can continue to do that thanks to Summit Eye Care of Wisconsin. When my vision began to drift, my eye doctor said Summit Eye Care was the best place to go. Using the latest adjustable implants, the doctors at Summit were able to fine-tune my vision. In fact, my vision is now the best it's ever been. Summit Eye Care was the right call to help me see all the action on game days.
To schedule an appointment at one of their locations, visit summitiwi.com.
Hey, Sandy Max here. I've been telling you all summer about my friends at Three Pillars, Wisconsin's top-rated continuing care retirement community located in beautiful Dousman. Three Pillars is offering a free CNA training program for adults 18 and over starting November 6th. You get $15 an hour during training, then $21 an hour after successful completion of the course. It's a great entry into an unbelievable career, making a huge difference in the lives of others. Find out how you can learn from and work with the best in Wisconsin at threepillars.org. That's threepillars.org.
In their second to last preseason game, the Milwaukee Bucks traveled out to Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder in a game they will want to soon forget. The young Thunder bringing it early on defense against the Bucks and eventually winning the game by a final score of 124-101. Malik Beasley led the Bucks in scoring with 20, and Giannis added 18. The Bucks will return back home on Friday night and will host the Memphis Grizzlies in the team's final preseason game. To the NFL, where the Packers are in the midst of their preparation for a Week 7 road trip to Denver for a matchup with the Broncos. On Tuesday, the team announcing they have added free agent running back James Robinson to their practice squad. And lastly, over to Major League Baseball, where the Philadelphia Phillies took Game 2 of the NLCS, this one by a final score of 10-0. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
Time for a look at your roads. A Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic update. Usual delays if you're heading on southbound 41 through the construction zone. It's going to run you about 16 Highway Q to the zoo. Standard travel times otherwise across the system. A couple of incidents if you're headed westbound. I-94 at Elm Grove Road. The right shoulder is blocked due to a disabled vehicle. And another one a little bit further west at Moreland Road.
I'm Brett Matschke, and you're due for service.
Richlawns Tire and Service Centers. 5 locations and all easy to find. Visit richlawns.com when you're due for service.
Absolutely beautiful afternoon. Increasing clouds, however, later today. A chance of PM showers, breezy conditions eventually. High of 65, it's right where we're at tonight. A low of 53. Thursday's chance of scattered showers, mostly cloudy, the high of 61. Partly cloudy on Friday with a high of 60. 64 degrees in Madison. It's 65 in Green Bay, 63 in Waukesha, and 66 at the Avenue. I'm Greg Matzik. Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time is 1:07.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, it's the Jeff Wagner Show. Now, here's WTMJ's Jeff Wagner.
Good afternoon, Wisconsin. Welcome back to the program. I want to revisit something we spoke about earlier this week because the issue is not going away. And it's tied in with what we were talking about in the first hour about the problems that are going on in the Middle East. In this country, people have a First Amendment right to express themselves, right? That your government cannot restrict within certain limits your ability to say things as long as you're not yelling fire in a crowded theater and things like that. That being said, there are always consequences for positions that people take. If you want to come out and you want to say, hey, I think Donald Trump is the greatest thing since canned beer, you have a right to do it. But you have to understand when you make that point, there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with you. And similarly, if you want to say, I think Donald Trump is a criminal who belongs behind bars, that is going to result in some negative consequences as well among the people who don't agree with you. But that's what comes. It's consequences. It's what comes from, living in a free society. You can say what you want within certain limits, but you have to understand that, people are going to react in different ways. And some people might love you for what you say, and other people might hate you for what you say, and it all comes with the territory. Which brings me to something that's been going on for the last week on college campuses. It has been, I think, interesting, surprising, and disappointing to many of us that you have had this reaction on some college campuses to the attacks by Hamas on Israel as, well, it's all Israel's fault. I mean, it's Israel's fault. The reason that these terrorists decided that they were going to, kill 14 or kill over 1,000 Israeli civilians and take hostages and hold them in tunnels. That's all Israel's fault. The blame Israel crowd. I said this the other day. It was real interesting to me. I was watching one of the TV news accounts, and there was a picture of a gal on one of these college campuses holding a sign that says "Trans for Palestine." And I was thinking, do you have any idea, how a transgender person would be treated in Palestine? I mean, it's just kind of this kind of ultimate cluelessness. But okay, that's fine. That's the way it is. So what happened at Harvard and on a couple of other college campuses over the last few weeks, in the last week or so, is you had these groups. For example, at Harvard, there were a series of college groups that signed a letter. One was circulated at Columbia University and one was circulated at Harvard, affiliated with something called the Harvard Palestine Solidarity Group, which wrote a letter that held the Israeli regime responsible for the deadly violence. Okay, that's the point that it had. And there weren't individual signatories, but it did list the different student groups that were affiliated with this. All right. In response to that, there has been a call to disclose the names of the students who were associated with that letter. And in some cases, the leaders of these various student groups, well, those are public records, and that is known. So, if you're a member of the, XYZ college campus group and you've signed on to this Israel is responsible letter, well, they can tell who you are. They don't necessarily know all the members, but this is your group. You're the president, vice president, whatever of the group. What's happened is a number of businesses, starting with a number of law firms, have made the decision that they are going to rescind job offers that they have made to students at, in this case, Columbia and Harvard, who have associated themselves with the letter. Here's one of the stories I'm looking at in the New York Times. Davis Polk, one of the country's most prestigious law firms, recently rescinded employment offers made to 3 students who the firm believes led organizations at Harvard and Columbia that issued statements blaming Israel for the October 7th attack by Hamas that left more than 1,400 Israeli dead. The firm said the views expressed in certain of the statements signed by law school student organizations in recent days are in direct contravention of our firm's value system. To ensure that we continue to maintain a supportive and inclusive work environment, the student leaders responsible for signing on these statements are no longer welcome in our firm. The chair and managing partner of the law firm said in an interview yesterday that the firm did not want employees who endorsed the atrocities of the Hamas attack working for them. All right. Our number is 855-616-1620. That is the Old National Bank talk and text line. Now, you're starting to see this play out. There's another story I'm looking at involving reaction of a number of people in the business community who are big donors to the University of Pennsylvania, another Ivy League school, who have cut off their donations because they believe that Penn has not appropriately dealt with what they are describing as hate speech that is coming from the anti-Israel crowd. Our number is 855-616-1620. I think people have the right to express themselves. And if you want to argue that, okay, these attacks by Hamas against Israel and the killing of over 1,000 innocent civilians was in some form, way, shape, or form justified, I disagree with you, but I guess you have that right to your opinion. At the same time, if you have businesses or law firms that say, we don't want anything to do with people that share those opinions, is that any different than somebody who, I don't know, on a college campus starts the Ku Klux Klan chapter of the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Is that any different than some employer saying, I don't want anything to do with the guy or gal, whoever, who's affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan at the University of Wisconsin-Madison? An extreme example, but you get my point. It's consequences. You have a right to do these things, but is it unfair to say that you then suffer consequences when you make these decisions? 855-616-1620. We discuss.
More Jeff Wagner right after this.
This is Libby Collins. Join me this Sunday morning at 11 o'clock for WTMJ Conversations when we talk with former Congressman Scott Klug about why we're not hearing more about voters in the middle. It's all this Sunday on Conversations.
There's nothing wrong with making the best case for your position in the most fiery way possible, but at the end of the day, you have to agree and move forward.
WTMJ Conversations, Sunday mornings at 11 on WTMJ.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Flimsy, feeble, flaccid. That's how you can describe most pre-approval letters these days. Heck, a lot of big banks issue pre-approval letters using soft credit pulls instead of real credit reports. Do you really want to compete in today's still low inventory market with a soft credit pull and a pre-approval that's silent on 2 of the 3 critical elements of a mortgage approval? A rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval from AccuNet not only verifies your credit with a real credit report, we also verify your income and down payment, and then issue a letter with a $2,000 guarantee to back it up. And now, AccuNet is issuing property-specific pre-approvals that often come with this sweet phrase: no appraisal required. That's right, AccuNet may be able to issue your pre-approval at or above the seller's asking price without needing an appraisal. Today's home market is still a metaphorical knife fight. Your bank is offering you, well, a pocket knife. AccuNet is Crocodile Dundee. Now that's a knife, mate. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
Breakthroughs aren't just for medical journals. They're to help people hold their grandbabies for the first time. Expertise isn't just for awards or recognition. It can be what gives people the best chance to walk again. At the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network, people are the driving force behind everything we do. So we never lose sight of what's important. And we never forget who it's for. Because in the end, we're people helping people. That means every breakthrough, every clinical study, every interaction is to help people like you, your family, and your neighbors be the best they can be. We do everything possible because we see everything possible in you. To find out how compassion motivates world-class care, visit Froedtert.com.
Welcome back to Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
I mean, seriously, think about this. If you, let's say you are at a college campus and you are the spokesperson or the head of a campus group that opposes diversity initiatives. Okay, that's it. I oppose diversity initiatives. That's what our group does, and you're the spokesperson for that. All right. So then you get out of college and you apply for a job with, I don't know, the NAACP, a group that is pushing diversity initiatives. All right, would it be wrong for them to say, well, wait, we don't want to hire somebody who, while otherwise may be qualified, doesn't reflect what the values and the positions of our organization is. And I don't think that there's anybody that would argue that, well, the NAACP in that case wouldn't be within its rights by saying, you do not, your values as expressed do not square with what the goals of our organization are. We don't think it's going to be a good fit. So as a result, we wish you the best of luck. Go find somewhere else to work. That, to me, is exactly what is going on in these college campuses. You have a number of these student organizations which have decided to come down on the anti-Israel side. Okay, 1,000 plus innocent people dead. It's Israel's fault. Okay, well, if you work, at a law firm that, for example, has a large contingent of Jewish members or has been very vocal about making donations and stuff and supporting Israel. All right, do you want somebody who expresses that particular opinion? They have the right to express it. That's fine, but it doesn't fit in with the culture and the belief system and the ethos of that particular law firm. So, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. And I guess what I find to be interesting is that this reaction, oh, this is terrible, you're doxing these kids, you're exposing them. Oh, well, okay, this is just the consequence of that. And by the way, by the time you get to college, and specifically by the time you get to law school, if you are so ignorant that you do not understand that there are going to be consequences for expressing your particular opinion, and that the way you come down and the way you state things, might be contrary to, getting a job at a particular place, well, then I just can't help you. Let's talk to Steve in Oak Creek. Steve, you're on WTMJ. Hello.
Good afternoon. When this news first came out about the student groups at Harvard, it didn't surprise me at all that some would be opposed to Israel. What surprised me is that it was 30-some groups.
Yeah.
Like, there was some total student group further at Harvard that 30 of them would be opposed to Israel.
Yeah, Steve, I'm sorry, your cell phone connection's bad. I got to let you go. But yeah, your surprise was that there's so many of these groups. Yeah, this was not, this anti-Israel screed that's been put out not only at Harvard, but also at a number of these other colleges. The anti-Israel screed, it's surprising the depth that is out there. And again, it's not just one group, but it's all these different groups that are out there that have decided that they want to weigh in. And again, my point is, it's not that they don't have a right to weigh in. It's just that when you make that decision to weigh in, you got to understand that, all right, some people might be listening and they might be paying attention. Jeff, as people have the right to express their opinions, there are no unfair consequences that come out of this. And if these positions taken by these groups don't reflect every member's thought, there is a lesson to that. Be careful who you affiliate with. Yes, there's no question about that. There's no question about that at all. Be careful who you affiliate. Jeff, during my background check into law enforcement, I had to justify why I follow certain groups on social media, groups that are nothing radical, but I had to explain why I follow a Wisconsin Hunters group. I had to explain what church I go to, why I was in Boy Scouts as a youth. They downloaded the entire contents of my phone. So yes, employers need to know who they are investing in. Think before you align with anyone. It always circles back. Yeah, Jeff, it's time that students and people overall learn that you can't just spout your ideas without consequences. You may very well have the right to do so, but sometimes it's just not the right thing to do. That's something I say all the time. And employers have the right to reject you depending on your opinions. Yeah, I mean, like imagine a situation like this. You have a big law firm. I don't know what the percentage of say, Jewish partners are versus non-Jewish partners. But let's say you have a law firm that, the leadership, many members of leadership in the firm and many members of the firm are Jews. Okay, so, can you expect them to say, we're actually going to bring this student on who expresses an opinion that believes that, we don't have the right to exist or we're terrorists or whatever? No, that's why when you get involved in some of these groups, you got to learn that, maybe that's it. Jeff, say it, own it, accept the consequences. Right. Jeff, freedom of speech also comes with possible consequences with prospective employers. That's it. They can hire who they want. And people get to say what they want. No doubt about it. I mean, that's the bottom line of all of this different type of stuff that's out there about that. Now, some people say, well, people whine about the cancel culture. Well, I do, there's a difference between saying, okay, we shouldn't have this cancel culture that ends up, this is actually the flip side of that, because there's so many people on the American left that decide, okay, we're going to cancel you because you've said something that's politically incorrect. But here, now it's like, oh, well, how dare people end up getting canceled? How dare there be consequences? So this is really the concept, I think, of hoisting people upon their own petard. We're all in favor of the cancel culture when it comes to people who dare to express conservative opinions. But in this particular case, well, how dare you hold anybody responsible? There is an irony to that. Back with more in just a minute. This is Jeff Wagner, WTMJ.
Stick around. Jeff Wagner is right around the corner.
Be our eyes on the road. See something out there that I should know about?
Hi, there is an accident on I-43 northbound.
Call me, Debbie Lazaga, at the hallmazda.com traffic tip line at 414-238-9329.
Hi, Debbie. It's Michael. Just drove through the area of 894 West. There's debris in the roadway.
The drive affects you. Why not be part of it?
I'm sitting here at I-43 north of Silver Spring. It's a parking lot.
Give me a call, 414-238-9329.
Let's talk for a minute about Gruber Law Offices. At Gruber Law, they help people and families who are seriously injured in accidents. They'll stand up for victims and they'll take the burden off your shoulders. They'll also focus on legal aspects of the case while their clients focus on healing. It's just one call and they handle the rest. Providing the best care, service, and representation is their priority. Gruber Law Offices is one of the largest personal injury firms in the Midwest. They're family-owned and operated, but they have a large, powerful team with resources to take on insurance companies. They get results that speak for themselves, and they've been serving the people in the state of Wisconsin for over 35 years. And trust me, you're not around for over 35 years if you don't get results. Now, here's how it works. There's no cost to call. There's no cost to consult. There's no cost to retain Gruber Law. There's never a fee until they win your case. Gruber Law Offices, they've been making a difference in helping others in the community for a long time. You can visit them at gruber-law.com to learn more about their firm, in addition to what they do in the community. And you can also give them a call, 414-276-6666.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scafidi for Heiser Automotive. You know I love talking about Heiser. I am now driving a 2021 Lincoln Corsair all-wheel drive. Of course, perfect for all of Wisconsin's changing weathers. We all know about that weather. It is amazing, comfortable. I always say Lincolns have the best ride. 6-year, 100,000-mile comprehensive warranty coverage. All of the great features of Lincoln, all available at one of their 5 great locations. Check it out. You can also go to Heiser.com, see all of their great pre-owned and new vehicles. Stop, online, always there for you, much more. Heiser.com. They have all the inventory you might need for any vehicle need you have. You could be in a vehicle as soon as tonight. Need your current vehicle serviced? Heiser has, as I said, 5 convenient locations. Get your vehicle ready for the upcoming summer season. Call for an appointment. Schedule online. They can fix body damage, too, one of their great service centers. Make sure you visit Heiser.com for all your vehicle needs. That's why they say, every day at Heiser, today's your day.
I know you have a great dog, right? But you know there's room for improvement. At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we can help. Our attention-based training system uses modern technology to help you better communicate with your dog, even in high distraction. When you schedule a free consultation with us, you will have the opportunity to see our training in action and meet for yourself our happy dogs off leash and under control. Contact Sit Means Sit today at 262-361-3641 or find us on the web at sitmeansitwaukesha.com to schedule your free consultation so you can have a happy, confident, and obedient dog.
You're listening to Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
Coming up after the top of the hour news, latest developments in the continuing struggle to fund upgrades at American Family Field. For the first time in a long while, you do see at least some bipartisanship coming out of the state assembly. We'll talk about that after the top of the hour news. Okay, there's another term that I would like to use, but I can't use it on the radio without getting called into meetings. And my goal for the last 25 years here at WTMJ has been to avoid getting called into meetings. So we're going to call it a goat rope. The goat rope in Washington goes on with no end in sight. For those of you who have been following, here's the deal. The House of Representatives needs to elect a Speaker of the House. Interestingly, the Speaker of the House is number 3 in line for the presidency. The President, Vice President, and then it is the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House is elected typically with the support and the exclusive support of members of their own party. So here's the way it works. In Congress right now, in the House of Representatives, there are 221 Republicans. There are 214 Democrats. So in order to get a Speaker of the House elected, you need almost unanimous support by the Republicans, because the Republicans do have more members. So you can only lose 3 or 4. If they lose 3 or 4, you don't have the speaker. You need a majority of the votes being cast. So what happened is you've had a gang of 8 who were interested in deposing House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and they've been nothing but trouble since the beginning. They're led by this Florida Republican named Matt Gaetz, who's been again. They're the bomb throwers. They're the hardcore right-wing people who would rather shut down the government. We don't want to accomplish anything without recognizing, as I've talked about on multiple occasions, you've got divided government. You've got a Democrat who is the president. You've got the Senate that is controlled narrowly by Democrats. You can't just say, hey, I want conservative stuff, and I'm not going to have any compromises at all, because you don't have the Senate. You don't have the president. If you're going to get anything done, you've got to work out some compromise. So anyhow, this gang of 8 conspired together. Yes, I used the word conspiracy, and they ended up knocking Kevin McCarthy out of the speakership. Okay, well, just like what happens a lot of times, just like what's going on in Israel, when you launch an attack and you don't know what comes next. Well, okay, so you knock Kevin McCarthy out. Okay, that's fine. Then what happens is you have to decide, okay, what do we do next? So the Republicans go into caucus, and as their next speaker, the majority of them vote for Steve Scalise, another congressman. However, what happens is you've got some of the Republicans who say, well, we don't care that the majority of our colleagues want him. We're still not going to vote for him. So Scalise quickly realizes that he doesn't have the votes to become the House Speaker, so he withdraws. The third choice is Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is a hard right. They describe him as a rabble-rouser, and that's true. He came in as one of the Tea Party Republicans, and he has been one of the leading bomb throwers for years and years and years. He's very, very much associated with Donald Trump. He wants to be the Speaker of the House. And the concern that a lot of moderate Republicans have is that he would be an absolute and total disaster, because his policy for the last 15 years has been take no prisoners. I'm not going to compromise at all. And there's a lot of moderate Republicans and Republicans in swing districts who don't want anything to do with this because they figure he's going to cost them their jobs. So Jordan, who lost to Steve Scalise in an internal ballot, now he's the next guy. Well, the problem is you have a lot of these moderates who won't vote for him and won't support him. And so Scalise, who's kind of so Jordan, who's kind of a bully, they've been trying to threaten some of these more moderate Republicans. You don't vote for me, we're going to find primary opponents, etc. And rather than bringing people over to his side, that's hacked off some people. Fine, you're going to threaten me. There's no way I'm going to support you. So what happened today is they go to the House floor, they put it up for vote, and Jordan comes up short, and he's at least 10 votes short, maybe a little bit more than that. So you're now at this point where there's still a vacancy. The Republicans continue to be incredibly dysfunctional, and there's several Republicans who say, no, we didn't vote for Jim Jordan, and you know what? We're not going to vote for Jim Jordan. Meanwhile, you've got the Middle East on fire. You've got the economy that's struggling along. You've got all these different issues, and the House of Representatives is absolutely paralyzed because they cannot get their act together. Say what you want about Nancy Pelosi, and there's a lot of not nice things that you can say, but she kept her caucus in line. You didn't have this story of when they had narrow majorities where you had 5 or 10 Democrats who were going off on their own and trying to undermine her. You have some of these Republicans who have been committed to, all right, we just want chaos. We want chaos, and now they've got chaos. And how is that working? Our number is 855-616-1620. That's the Old National Bank talk and text line. I guess I have two positions on this. First of all, I think Republicans are beclowning themselves with this. That's number one. Number two, I think they do need to come up with an alternative to this Jim Jordan guy who, like I say, has been a bomb thrower for, a decade and a half. And if he is the next speaker, I think that's going to be disastrous for the Republican Party moving forward. I also think it is going to be rewarding bad behavior because he's been one of the guys who's been most obstinate over the years. 855-616-1620, your reaction to what is going on in Washington. This saga has been continuing, and now we're on week 3, and it doesn't appear that it's any closer to ending Meanwhile, you've got real problems in this world that aren't being solved. 855-616-1620. We discuss.
Don't go anywhere. Jeff Wagner is back right after this.
We asked people why they sold their homes to Grandview Homes instead of using a real estate agent.
We needed to sell Mom's home quickly and with a company we could rely on.
No showings, no closing costs, no staging, no real estate agent fees, no added stress.
Whether you have a hard-to-sell home, want a stress-free sale, or simply need to sell your home fast, Grandview Homes is the name you know and the name you can trust. Visit GrandviewHomes.com to discover the easiest and fastest way to sell a home.
So I came to Advent because I was experiencing recurrent sinus infections. As a new mom, it was really kind of difficult.
Many of our patients complain of sinus infections. The headaches, fatigue, and nasal stuffiness have a profound effect on their lives.
I just felt like your sickness starts affecting your energy level and, the things that you really enjoy doing. That really was a breaking point for me.
So Molly came to Advent. Abnormally tight sinuses and swollen turbinates led to simple breathing triangle solutions that ended up taking about 20 minutes in office. And very soon thereafter, she was breathing freely.
I'm just in awe at the amount of air that that I'm able to breathe in and out each night. And I haven't had a sinus infection since the procedure.
I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. When you breathe well, you do live better.
Results may vary.
Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
Eight 855-616-1620. That's the Old National Bank talk and text line. I just look at what's going on in Washington, D.C., and I just absolutely shake my head. Jeff, I can't get past the fact that 200 Republicans just voted for a guy, John Boehner, called a legislative terrorist. Yeah, well, see, the problem with Jordan is that he's backed by the hard right bomb throwing, the people who just, essentially they brought the end to Kevin McCarthy's speakership. They're the hard right. They're the let's not compromise type of group. And I think if he were to become Speaker, it immediately makes it much more difficult for a lot of the more moderate Republicans to get anything done at all. So you've got to come up with some other solution. But the problem is when you have, this group or that group, when you have 8 Republicans out of 221 who are able to dethrone a speaker, that's a big problem to begin with. I mean, that's what it starts. And then you toss out Kevin McCarthy without an idea as to what's going to come. It really is the ready, fire, aim sort of philosophy, the loose cannon rolling along the deck where every once in a while the cannon goes off and it goes in the direction of the pirate ship that's attacking, but half the time it shoots down and puts a hole in its own ship. 855-616-1620. Andrew in Waukesha. Hi, Andrew.
Yeah, hi, thanks for taking my call. So, first of all, I just want to say I think Jim Jordan is doing good work right now. He's heading the committee that's looking at how the government is censoring the citizens. So, whatever, people's opinions might be of him one way or the other, he's doing good work now. And I think what we need to focus on, and let's stop complaining about the handful of Republicans who are being sick. Every single Democrat voted to kick McCarthy out of the speakership.
Yep.
Why do we have a system that empowers the minority party to take away the speakership of the majority party? What is it about this?
Wait a second, Andrew. No, Andrew, wait. It's not the minority party that took away the speakership. What took away the speakership was 8 Republicans who sided with the Democrats in taking that over. If it weren't for the 8 Republicans, none of this happens.
What I'm saying is that any system that empowers the minority, and believe me, if you want to say that 8 Republicans have more power than the majority of every single Democrat, every Democrat voted against McCarthy, and all I've heard talking heads complain about is Republicans.
Yeah.
This position shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist in state legislatures. It shouldn't exist in the congressional lever. Nobody wants this job. That's the other problem. If this was a good job to have, there would be no problem filling it. This is a position that is a drudge, and the only people that want it are diabolical people who will put up with the drudgery because they want the power.
Well, I mean, Andrew, thanks. I mean, Nancy Pelosi wanted to be the speaker. Newt Gingrich wanted to be the speaker. It might be a no-win job that has a relatively short shelf life, but you are arguably, you're number 3 in line for the presidency. But I guess I just want to go back to this basic premise. This is not because of the Democrats. I mean, you are right that no Democrats decided that they were going to cross the aisle and vote for a Republican as the speaker, but that's because they are Democrats. This doesn't happen. That being shot in the foot is exclusively because of this gang of 8 who got upset with Kevin McCarthy because, heaven forbid, he decided that he wanted to work out some sort of compromise to keep the government open. Oh, this is just absolutely terrible. I'd rather shut down the government, and I'd rather, have 4 million people, who lose their jobs temporarily, and I'd rather have members of the military and the DEA, et cetera, and ATF. I'd rather have them have to come to work and not be paid. I mean, that's this attitude. Now, the problem is that you have this system that allows and McCarthy did it to himself. In order to get the job, he allowed the rules to be changed so that any single representative could move to vacate. And now you're living with this. But no, I don't blame the Democrats for this. The Democrats are sitting back and they're just smiling at the complete and total dysfunction that is on display on a daily basis in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, you've got appropriations that are tied up. Ukraine needs money. The economy needs to be addressed. You've got all these crises in Israel that's going on, and the House of Representatives can't operate without a speaker. Now, I don't blame the Democrats for this. Just like if this were a revolt against Nancy Pelosi, let's face it, Republicans would be licking their chops, saying, "Hey, this is the dysfunction that goes on." Unfortunately, this is the dysfunction which is completely and totally on display, and I don't know how it ends. And if it ends by you make Jim Jordan the speaker, well, what that does is it rewards, he's a bully, it rewards his efforts to undermine previous people, and it makes it much, much, much more difficult for Republicans to retain control of the House of Representatives in 2024 if Jim Jordan is their leader. Back with more in just a minute. This is Jeff Wagner.
More Jeff Wagner right after this.
This is the year to buy the woman you love a big anniversary diamond.
What's a big anniversary diamond?
A big anniversary diamond is any diamond that's at least twice as big as the one in her engagement ring.
Why twice as big?
A big anniversary diamond says, I love you twice as much today as the day I married you.
People are always so happy when they see the price we can give them.
Kessler's has wonderful prices on 1 carat, carat and a half, 2 carat, and 3 carat big anniversary diamonds.
People will ask you about your big diamond everywhere you go.
So big anniversary diamonds are the hot new trend?
It began with men buying big anniversary diamonds for the women they love. But now it's gone to a whole new level.
Women are now buying big anniversary diamonds for their men.
Women are saying 2 can play that game.
I like games that 2 can play.
Everybody likes games that 2 can play.
Welcome to Kessler's.
For the location nearest you, go to KesslersDiamonds.com.
This weekend is Sweetest Day weekend. Don't forget your sweetheart. WTMJ's John Mercure here. I highly recommend taking the love of your life to the amazing Mind Chef restaurant in Hartford. It's the most affordable Sweetest Day dining destination, and it's spectacular. The Wednesday and Friday cod fish fry is all you can eat. It's just $9.99. Don't pay $16 or more for a fish fry at $9.99. And all you can eat, the Mind Chef's fish fry is the best fish fry value anywhere. Add a delicious old-fashioned, a Manhattan, a glass of wine, an ice-cold beer. Buy one dessert, and your sweetheart's dessert is free. Today, Sweetest Day, every day. Wherever you live, it's worth the drive to the Mine Shaft restaurant for the Wednesday and Friday codfish fry for under $10. In beautiful downtown Hartford and Oshkosh, lots of seating, lots of close parking. It's big food, big fun. Now that's sweet. You don't need to spend a lot of money on your Sweetest Day dinner. Reserve now. MineshaftRestaurant.com. It's the amazing Mine Shaft.
Fleet Farm's got everything you need for everyday life. Brands from Carhartt to Milwaukee to Purina to Goodyear to Rapala to Levi's and a whole lot more. In-store or online, check out all the brands Fleet Farm carries to help make your everyday life better.
Hun, we need to stop putting off getting life insurance.
I know. It's just been so busy, and I'm sure the cost is out of our budget.
Well, Jen told me that they got a $500,000 term life insurance policy from Ethos for less than $23 a month. All online with no complicated forms and no medical exam. All they had to do was answer a few health questions.
Wait, no medical exam and all online?
I know, right? It's not easy to think about, but if something happened to you, James and I would be...
Okay, I get it. Let's get a quote from Ethos right now. Wow, you were right. There's no medical exam. And Ethos makes the whole online process fast and easy. And look at these rates and coverage options. It's great protection and totally fits our budget.
Ethos. They've removed all the barriers from getting coverage. Go to checkethos.com to get your free online quote. That's checkethos.com. Quote based on a healthy, non-smoking 30-year-old male with a 20-year term policy. Rates may vary.
This is Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
I need to move on because politics, it's just too bizarre. It's gotten more and more bizarre. And I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, commentating on the stuff that's going on, and it's stranger and stranger. I was describing this to somebody yesterday. We're having a conversation, and I was just talking about how tribal politics have gotten. And by that I mean it's just everybody is entrenched, and there's no nuance anymore. And if you don't support this, well, you're just nothing but a rhino. Or if you do support this, it's okay, you're just nothing but a hardcore liberal, or vice versa. And it's very, very unfortunate. And I don't know what the ultimate workover is, other than, and going back to my explanation of divided government, I have always been of the belief, if I go into a negotiation and I'm able to get 70% of what I want, including the 2 or 3 most important items to me, well, you take that as a win. Hey, you got 70% of what you want. If you're, and this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out with the striking UAW workers who are making, on their face, absolutely outrageous demands. Okay, we want now I think they're down. We want a 36% pay raise, and we want cost of living on top of that, and we want a 4-day work week but 5-day pay. That's not doable. It would bankrupt, in this case, Ford in just a couple days, and they're not going to get it. So the question becomes, all right, Ford says we'll give you a 23% pay increase, yet you're going to still have to work 5 days a week. We're going to give you cost of living adjustments. At some point in time, you have to decide, okay, what do we get? Where do you say, okay, we've gotten as much as we possibly want? Or do you just say, okay, no, we're going to stick it out till the bitter end without understanding what the end game is? All right. So that is the frustration that you have. Again, all these people who seem to jump into these things, and you get it on the right and left without any idea of what happens. Where does this ultimately go? What is the end game? How do you declare, victory, and what is victory? Okay, let us completely and totally switch gears. For those of you who fly, one of the frustrating things is, of course, getting onto the plane. Now, it's frustrating. Okay, is the plane going to be there? That's always the first question. But then once the plane arrives, everybody queues up in line. Now, I fly Southwest a lot just because Southwest tends to fly direct to the destinations that I go to, mostly Florida, Las Vegas, etc. So I fly Southwest a lot. Southwest, you get your boarding number, then you get in the queue, and then once you get onto the plane, you choose what seat it is that you want. But most other airlines, I'm not saying all, but most other airlines still have assigned seating, right? So when you show up at the airport that you are in the aisle seat, you're in seat 6, which is the aisle seat, or seat 4 or whatever, row 12. You know that. You have your assigned seat. United Airlines has just announced that they have changed or are going to be changing the way people board on planes. This doesn't affect first class and business class, all right? But for people who are flying the economy class, they will no longer call you by rows. It's no longer, a lot of times it'll be, okay, if you're in row 13 through row 17, you can board now. That's not how they're going to do it. They are rather going to board people under a system they call WILMA, not Wilma Flintstone, but it's a loose acronym for window middle aisle. People in economy class with window seats will board first. So if you've got a window seat, you get on first. Then, if you've got the middle seat, you get on next. And if you have an aisle seat, you get on last. They say they believe that, and this of course avoids the thing of, I like to sit in the aisle seat as a general rule, just because I'm 6'1", and so it gives me a little bit more room to stretch out my legs. So if, for example, I'm flying Southwest, I will always, or almost always, I'll pick an aisle seat. So I get in the aisle seat, and then somebody else has to climb over to me to get to the window seat, and somebody else has to climb over to me to get to the middle seat. So it delays the whole boarding process. United says by doing window, then middle, then aisle, what they're going to do is they can save a couple of minutes as far as the boarding process. There are a couple problems with this, though. Our number, 855-616-1620. All right, what do you think about this? Letting the people in the window seats get on before the people in the middle seats, and then letting the people who are on the aisle seats have to get on last. Good idea, bad idea. Will this work, or will this create other unintended problems? 855-616-1620. We discuss.
Don't go anywhere. Jeff Wagner is back right after this.
There's no better green and gold insider than from the man who wore the green and gold himself, Bart Tauscher.
The thing you hear all through training camp, if you're an undrafted free agent or a late pick, is, hey, you're trying out for our team, but you're also putting film up there for the other 31.
Bart Tauscher is our green and gold insider every Wednesday at 4:15 on Wisconsin's Afternoon News.
I like his moxie. You know what? We're going to keep him on the 53.
Presented by your Wisconsin Chevy dealers.
What's the way to build your wealth?
If you want to be sure that you're getting financial planning advice you can trust, work with a fiduciary. A fiduciary should be someone who acts as a steward for you. It means they treat your assets as if they were their own, that they protect them as if they were their own, and that they try to grow them as if they were their own. Now you can take this for what it's worth, but I'm doing all I can to run a firm you can trust. That's why we're a fee-only, comprehensive financial planning firm that doesn't work for anyone but our clients and focuses only on their best interest. By being a steward, being a fiduciary to help our clients reach their financial goals. I'm Jim Cantrell, and I believe we can show you a wiser way to build your wealth. So go to financialstrategiesinc.com and schedule a no-cost consultation.
Financial strategies, what's the way to build your wealth?
If you like using debit over credit, don't you think it's time you also get rewarded with Discover Cashback Debit? Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Hey, got a reminder for you. It's Sweetest Day weekend. WTMJ's John Mercure here. Take your love to the historic Fox and Hounds restaurant for a free dinner. I recommend the Friday cod fish fry and the Sunday brunch. Both are all you care to eat and one of the best. All other dinners are buy one, get one free tonight and throughout the weekend. Order your favorite steak, seafood, pasta, the delicious steak and lobster. Your second dinner is always free. Desserts and those huge ice cream drinks, buy one, get one free. Sip on a delicious old-fashioned, a Manhattan, a bourbon, over 100 fine wines, ice-cold beer. The Fox and Hounds tucked into the Kettle Moraine Forest, spectacular setting, and winners of the Top Choice Award for Most Romantic Restaurant and Best Supper Club. Just off Highway 167, 2 miles east of the Holy Hill Shrine, the drive through the colorful Kettle Moraine is breathtaking. A must-see. Enjoy a free dinner tonight and this weekend. Reserve now. FoxandHoundsRestaurant.com. The famous Fox and Hound.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
This is Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
855-616-1620. Now, this is, again, some of the text, just so it's clear, this is United Airlines is doing this. People in economy, window, everybody that's got a window seat gets on first, then the middle seat, then the aisle seat. But these are assigned seats. I mean, it's not like Southwest where you pick your own seat. These are people, so regardless of when you get on, you know that you've got the window seat in aisle 12. So that's what it would be. So, because some people are saying, well, is this going to separate? Does this mean that, families, if you've got a husband and wife who are traveling together, that they're not going to sit together? No, they're going to sit in the same seats that they were because they've got the assigned seats, but they will board differently. Also, people are asking about kids. Apparently, what United says is that the pre-boarding group will still include people with disabilities, unaccompanied minors, active duty military, and families traveling with children 2 years old or under. But presumably, if you've got a 7-year-old, for example, who's traveling, they're going to get on by themselves. So if you're pre-boarding, if you've got the infants and stuff, but at least the way I read this, otherwise, if the kid's 5 years old, the kid is going to get on independently. 855-616-1620. Let's talk to Jeff in Waukesha. Jeff, you're first. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I think overall it's a pretty good idea. And you're just talking a little bit about boarding with kids. And my children were little. We used to travel a lot. And I don't know if I would feel comfortable or my children would feel comfortable at 5, 6, or 7 years old, getting split up from mom and dad and getting on a plane by themselves. I certainly wouldn't like that. But I think if they make an accommodation for that, I think, it's a pretty good idea. Okay,
thanks for the call, Jeff. Appreciate it. Let's see, and that is the way I read this now. They're not talking. The only thing I see is it's pre-boarding for families with kids 2 and under. But yeah, I mean, obviously that's an issue. Would you let your 7-year-old? Okay, mom's at the window seat. She gets on. Then you've got the 7-year-old have to get on and find row 13, middle seat. How comfortable are people doing that? Paul, you're on WTMJ. Hello.
Yeah, hi, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just got back from Florida last week, and truthfully, my wife always sits next to me. She typically takes the middle seat. But regardless if we're an economy bus, and we typically fly United, now we're going to be split up. To me, it's still going to create a bottleneck because you're still going to have that person getting on first, putting in their overhead compartment. So whether you're in row 13 or row 30, they're still going to have to wait until that person then, puts the overhead compartment in and then crawls through. Years ago, Jeff, what used to work is they would let the people that were in the back of the plane, they would load from the back forward. This way, pretty much everybody got on at the same time. They got their luggage figured out. Yeah. That worked real well. But I don't see how this is going to save time. I think this is going to, again, break up families like you were alluding to, and I think it's just going to be more of a mess.
Well, the other thing, Paul, thanks for calling. The other thing is this screws over people who are flying in the aisle when it comes to overhead bin space. Now, you can make the argument that now people who are flying at the back of the plane, they get screwed over for overhead bin space. But I mean, here's the thing. The people that get on with the window seats, they're going to get the first crack at putting stuff in the overheads. And then the people who get on the middle seats, they're going to get the second crack. So the people who have the aisle seats all up and down, I mean, I think there's a good chance that they're going to be out of luck when it comes to trying to find, bin space, because I think there's a good chance that a lot of that will be filled up. And I think that's going to cause some problems as well. Yes, to me, this is one of these where, I mean, is it a solution looking for a problem? Quite frankly, when it comes to delays on airplanes, I'm much more, I think getting out is much more of a goat rope than getting on. And I understand that, like I said, I fly Southwest a lot, and they're always encouraging people to, all right, just find a seat and sit down. And especially with the people who are at the back of the boarding group, it's like, okay, if you're looking to find 2 aisle seats across from each other and you're the 120th person to get on the plane, it's not going to happen. So just find a seat and sit down. But I guess in theory, I understand why this means you don't have people crawling all over each other, and I guess there is an appeal to that. I just think that there's going to be all sorts of practical problems that this will lead to. And I will tell you, as somebody who, again, likes to fly in the aisle seats just because likes to sit in the aisle seats, it is an active deterrent because, okay, I'm getting on the plane and I want that aisle seat and stuff, but I've also got my computer bag or whatever, and I'm not one of these persons who's adverse to checking stuff. I mean, that's just not an issue. So I don't mind checking stuff, but there's stuff that I'm always going to be carrying with me. And if I'm carrying some stuff with me and I find that, gee, all the people in the middle seats and all the people in the aisle seats got on ahead of me and they've taken up that space, I know that I'm not going to be particularly happy. United is trying different things. Like I say, I think I understand where they're coming from in theory. This, to me, seems like it might be a solution looking for a problem. But, people will decide. If they don't like this, well, then they'll fly Delta or Southwest or something else. All right, when we come back, a rare example of bipartisan support. But you might not be on board. I'll explain. We'll discuss.
More Jeff Wagner right after this.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Chris and Tim closed their first loan with Accunet $116,000 ago in terms of the median sales price in southeastern Wisconsin. We helped their daughter buy a home earlier this year, and now we're helping them buy their retirement condo. We're told there were 3 offers, 2 cash offers, and Chris and Tim's offer backed up by an Accunet rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. All 3 offers were probably over the asking price, but we're surmising Chris and Tim's offer was the highest because when the sellers asked the listing broker if they could count on the offer with the pre-approval letter, the answer was simply, Accunet really does their homework. It's not easy to beat a cash offer over the asking price, but that's exactly what Tim and Chris did with some help from their trusted family mortgage lender. If you don't think the lender's name on your pre-approval letter matters, think again. It's still a seller's market in the Badger State, so click on the blue button at Accunet.com today to get started with your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's ACCUNET.com.
The place to get caught up, to speak out, to connect and be entertained. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock. We have 64 degrees, increasing cloudiness today with a chance for afternoon and evening showers and breezy conditions. High today, 64. Again, our current temperature. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. The House is in recess after Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan came up short for the second time in the vote for House Speaker. Jordan needed 217 votes, received only 199, 13 fewer than House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Wisconsin Congressman Brian Stile tells WTMJ Now it's important his Republican colleagues work together.
We have our ally Israel under attack. This is a moment where I hope my colleagues will look and say, although this may not be perfect, we do need to come together for the sake of the country.
Stile says the House's inability to elect a speaker hurts the entire country. The House, of course, has been without a speaker since Kevin McCarthy was ousted more than 2 weeks ago. Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley says he is running for re-election, telling 1017 The Truth.
There's so much more that we need to be doing, partnering with many of our local municipalities, partnering with the state of Wisconsin, and building more affordable housing units all across Milwaukee County, particularly in suburban neighborhoods where we may have the space.
Crowley was first elected as Milwaukee County Executive in 2020. Protests breaking out after hundreds were killed by that deadly explosion at a Gaza hospital yesterday. Palestinians blaming it on Israel. Israel denies involvement. More than 4,800 lives have been lost in the Israel-Hamas war so far. It's only its 12th day of fighting. While delivering remarks on his trip to Israel, President Biden warned Hamas not to steal or divert any humanitarian aid that's meant for civilians in Gaza and the West Bank. He says the U.S. is providing $100 million in aid. More than 1 million civilians in Gaza reported to be misplaced. And while pledging continued support for Israel, Biden warned against allowing intense emotions to consume them.
President Biden said the U.S. will make sure Israel has what it needs to protect its people and defend its nation. He acknowledged the anger people there have after the Hamas attacks, but warned,
justice must be done. But I caution this: while you feel that rage, don't be consumed by it.
The president said after September 11th, Americans were enraged. And while there was justice, the U.S. also, quote, made mistakes. He didn't get specific. President Biden urging Israel to be, quote, deliberate in its response, acknowledging that choices for leaders are never clear or easy. And, quote, there's always costs. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
A man killed in a carjacking in West Dallas. Police Chief Patrick Mitchell.
We do not have very much to go on yet. We're in the process of interviewing witnesses to the event, but it is clear that we do have a homicide. We are hopeful at some point we will identify a good suspect description, but I do not have anything to give out suspect-wise yet.
Victim, a man in his 20s, shot and killed near 64th and Lincoln. The prime suspect in the disappearance of Natalie Holloway addresses her family.
Before Joran Vandersloot apologized to the family of Natalie Holloway in court, he made a deal with federal prosecutors to confess to her murder in writing, detailing how he killed her and put her body in the water along a beach in Aruba in 2005, never to see her again. Natalie's mother, Beth.
Even with this confession, though, he can't be tried here for Natalie's murder. But I'm satisfied knowing that he did it.
Vandersloot convicted of extortion for demanding $250,000 from Holloway's family for information about her remains. He says he's since given his life to Christ, but faces 20 years in prison. Derek Dennis, ABC News.
Discounts on fresh produce ending for one southeastern Wisconsin grocery chain. Outpost Natural Foods ending its Produce to the People program November 30th. The program is a partnership between Outpost and the Hunger Task Force to provide Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, food share recipients with a 50% discount on fresh fruits and vegetables purchased at Outpost. Representatives from the company said in a statement that since the program's inception in April of 2022, food share participants have saved more than $435,000 on fresh produce purchased at Outpost's 4 store locations. Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow is down 287 points. S&P 500 is down 53, and the Nasdaq Composite is down 204. Annex Ignite, Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, they'll meet you where you're at. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Citing Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 2:04.
Hi, John McGivern here. Did you know Network Health has Medicare Advantage plans that give you $25 a month back towards your Medicare Part B premium? That's $300 a year back in your pocket. Isn't that great? Call 833-7-NETWORK to learn more today. Network Health Medicare Advantage plans include PPO plans with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Network Health Medicare Advantage plans depends on contract renewal. Certain restrictions apply to the Part B giveback. Visit networkhealth.com/Medicare/extra benefits for details.
ESPN Wisconsin's Mark Tauscher here for my friends at Kohler Services. Have you been thinking of updating your bath or shower? Well, Kohler Services is a local end-to-end bath and shower design and remodel service brought to you by Kohler, a family-owned business in Wisconsin for 150 years. Kohler is the only manufacturer offering fast, professional installation and care for life. Start enjoying your bath or shower right now with a special offer. Visit KohlerServicesWI.com to request your free quote and tell them that I sent you. Again, that's KohlerServicesWI.com.
Wouldn't you love a pair of high heels that feel like sneakers?
Sure would.
Or a pair of jeans that look amazing and also feel unbelievably comfortable?
You know it.
I'm talking to my ladies.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
That reminds me of the Parker sofa at Penny Mustard. It looks like one of those sleek but terribly rigid sofas where a madman would sip martinis in his groovy pad.
But you won't believe how incredibly comfortable it is.
Yeah? If sofas had felt like this in the 60s, those men wouldn't have been so mad.
You'll say, there's no way it could be that cozy, Daddy-o.
But trust me, you will melt.
It's top-notch.
I gotta sit down.
What's wrong?
These high heels are killing me.
Come see the Parker sofa with tufted seat backs and streamlined metal legs, starting at $42.24 at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update.
In their second to last preseason game, the Milwaukee Bucks traveled out to Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder in a game they will want to soon forget. The young Thunder bringing it early on defense against the Bucks and eventually winning the game by a final score of 124-101. Malik Beasley led the Bucks in scoring with 20, and Giannis added 18. The Bucks will return back home on Friday night and will host the Memphis Grizzlies in the team's final preseason game. To the NFL, where the Packers are in the midst of their preparation for a Week 7 road trip to Denver for a matchup with the Broncos. On Tuesday, the team announcing they have added free agent running back James Robinson to their practice squad. And lastly, over to Major League Baseball, where the Philadelphia Phillies took Game 2 of the NLCS, this one by a final score of 10-0. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
Taking a look at your Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. Just a couple of delays out there right now. I-43 southbound from Brown Deer Road to downtown. Just to take you a couple of extra minutes there. Usually about an 11-minute drive, about 15 due to some construction-related ramp closures in the area. I-43, the Rock Freeway southbound, the Hale interchange to Highway 164. There is a disabled vehicle off right causing some delays. That's about a 15-minute drive this afternoon.
Traffic is sponsored by Harwood Place Senior Living. Join Harwood Place Retirement for a moving and downsizing seminar October 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. To RSVP or to schedule a tour, visit harwoodplace.org.
WTMJ 5-day forecast, increasing cloudiness today. There's a chance of rain this evening, overnight, and even tomorrow morning. Overnight low tonight, 53. Tomorrow's high, 61 under mostly cloudy skies. Partly cloudy Friday, high 60. Then scattered showers again on Saturday. Cloudy, breezy with a high 56. Sunshine on Sunday with a high of 51. Right now, Madison at 63. Green Bay, 68. Milwaukee, 67 degrees. I'm Connie Weber. Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 2:08.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, it's the Jeff Wagner Show. Now, here's WTMJ's Jeff Wagner.
Good afternoon, Wisconsin. Welcome back to the show. So glad to have you with us. Well, everything old is new again. When I first started doing radio shows in this market, one of the big issues, there were many big issues, but one of the big issues was, should we fund what was then Miller Park? And as I've said before, I still have kind of some of the psychic scars from all the arguments that were going on then about, see, of course, for those of you who might not have been around, we kind of, let's review the bidding. The Brewers used to play at County Stadium. County Stadium was built like in the 50s or something like. County Stadium was, at the end, it was a dump. And as somebody who got the chance occasionally to go into the bowels of County Stadium, if OSHA would have come in, they would have closed it down. I mean, I was amazed at what poor condition County Stadium was in. So the argument was level County Stadium, build Miller Park. And then there was the huge fight about, how do we fund this? And I think everybody might remember the story about how the proposal was, let's come up with a 5-county sales tax. And then, of course, people didn't want to pay it, particularly people in Racine were upset about this. The governor at the time, Tommy Thompson, had this legendary comment about encouraging legislators outstate to vote for this by saying, stick it to Milwaukee, which was not Tommy's finest moment. Let's stick it to Milwaukee, and it's okay. That's just what you want to have if you're trying to sell this in southeastern Wisconsin. And then, of course, you had the late night vote. What happened is State Senator George Petak, who was from the Racine area, he ended up changing his vote. He had originally voted no. That would have killed the deal. Changes his vote in the middle of the night to vote yes. The deal gets approved. Petak ends up losing his job as a result of that in a recall election, and then, of course, you're kind of off to the races with that. But Miller Park ends up getting built, and while I understand some of you might still disagree with me on this, I don't think it is. I think it is impossible to argue that the state. Let's start locally. The local community, the region, the state. I think it's impossible to argue that we are not better off having Miller Park, now American Family Field, than if we hadn't done this. Because if we hadn't have done this, what would have happened is the Brewers would have left. There's just no question about it. They would have left, and you would have had this vacant property that would have been sitting there, and maybe an aging county stadium would have been used occasionally for a concert or something like that. But basically, it would be vacant. We would not have baseball here. We would not have the concerts. And for people who don't think that there is value, I remember going, as I was saying a couple of weeks ago, I went to the 2 Brewers playoff games that they lost against Arizona. And, on game days, it's like a little city. You got 40+ thousand people there. You've got all the employees ranging from the people who park cars to the people who, work at the gates to the people who work at the concession stands to the people who sell beer. It's an entire army of people who make money by the fact that, you have this wonderful facility that is there. So, anybody who argues that, well, there's nothing to be gained by having this there, I think it's just, I respect it, but it's an incredibly naive position. American Family Field is owned by the taxpayers, all right? We own it. State of Wisconsin taxpayers own this. And so just like if you rent a piece of property, you rent an apartment, you would expect that any improvements that need to be made, hey, the place needs new windows, the plumbing is shot or whatever, you wouldn't expect if you're a renter that you would be asked to pay for that. You might be asked to pay higher rent or whatever if your landlord's costs go up, but it's the landlord that's responsible for the improvements and keeping your place habitable. And in this particular case, you've got over the next couple decades, you are going to have improvements which need to be made to American Family Field. And I understand that some of the attention has been, well, they want a state-of-the-art, they want a wraparound scoreboard or things like that. But the vast majority of the money that is necessary over the course of the next 20-some years is money that goes to the mechanicals. And just think about it if you own a house. You're going to have to replace your furnace at some point in time. You're going to have to replace your water heater. You're going to have to replace your roof. You're going to have to make all sorts of improvements. That's one of the things that comes with being a homeowner, with being a property owner. You've got to constantly make improvements just to maintain it. The furnaces do, in fact, go out. So that's the situation where we're at with American Family Field. The original funding, okay, that's been paid off. That's fine. The 5-county sales tax has disappeared. But now the question is, moving forward, what do you do? The state assembly has now passed with let's see, I think 16 Republicans voted against it. So that means like 47 Republicans voted for it. And you have 11 Democrats that voted against it. So that means 22 or so Democrats voted for it. So one of the rare acts of bipartisanship, you had the assembly agree to a plan to provide for the improvements, upgrades, maintenance of American Family Field. The deal is essentially this. You've got about $400 million, which is going to come from players' salaries. So right now, when players play games at American Family Field, what they have to do is they have to pay a prorated portion of their salary in a state sales tax. And this applies to out-of-state players. It applies to in-state players. So the bulk of the money that's going to be used to pay for these upgrades, et cetera, is money that's going to come from the players themselves, from their salaries. Now, I mean, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but I do understand that that's money that's not otherwise going to the state in tax revenue. It's money that's being specifically designated to come and to be used for those improvements, whereas theoretically it could be used otherwise. But that's how it's going to work. It's not a new commitment of taxpayer dollars. In other words, they're not asking you to reach into your pocket and pay money, but I do understand the argument that you could theoretically take that money that the players are paying, assuming that they're still playing there, and you could, use it for other things. But of course, if the Brewers leave, you're not generating revenue anyways. So the vast majority of the money is going to come from the taxes that the individual players are going to make, because the greatest benefit, at least I believe, to American Family Field is local. I think, yes, do I believe there is a value to people for having the Brewers here, to people in La Crosse? Yes, there is. But clearly the greatest value is to people in Milwaukee and in Milwaukee County, because, you come to the game, you stop off at one of the restaurants along Blue Mound Road or whatever. Okay, you're paying taxes that go to Milwaukee County and maybe the city of. So the plan is the county and the city would each pay $2.5 million per year through 2030, and then it would increase slightly. That money can come from the new local sales tax. In addition to that, the Brewers are going to contribute in the neighborhood of $100 million as well. And the Brewers will also agree to extend their lease, so they're going to be here for the next 25 plus years. Our number, 855-616-1620. The Senate has to vote on this. By the way, the governor is on board with this. The mayor and county executive are on board with this. It will go to the Senate, and they will have to decide, and they can make some tweaks. But in general, we have a framework to keep the Brewers here for the next 2.5 decades. My question to you is, are you happy with this? 855-616-1620. That's the Old National Bank talk and text line. And I understand there's all sorts of people. There's one of the stories I'm looking at. There's this state representative, a Democrat from Oshkosh, who says this is corporate welfare and we have to stand up for corporations. And, the team is worth $1.6 billion. We shouldn't put a dime into, the facility. And if they want to maintain the facility, they should have to pay for it, which, of course, misses the point that the Brewers really don't own the facility. The Brewers, it's owned by the state of Wisconsin. The Brewers are renters who play there. But in any event, 855-616-1620 looks like this is the framework to get the deal done. Are you happy with it? We discuss in a moment.
Don't go anywhere. Jeff Wagner is back right after this.
Vince Vitrano here from Wisconsin's Morning News, reminding you to subscribe to the Wisconsin's Morning News podcast. We update it every day with every segment, every interview, and every bit we do on the show. Wait, we don't do bits on the show.
If my intelligence is artificial, then why am I smarter than you?
Absolutely boat racing.
Let's go! Come on, let's go!
All right, maybe we do some bits.
F you.
Subscribe to the Wisconsin's Morning News podcast wherever you get your podcasts or listen live on WTMJ.com.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Pain relief and gimmicks. The two seem to go hand in hand, and it really is a shame, because when you're living with chronic pain, you're vulnerable. And that's why so many people get tricked into buying unproven treatments. At Rejuvenex, we understand how you suffer, how you wait to get out of bed because you know the pain is coming. Chronic pain from osteoarthritis is a terrible thing, and that's why we use our proprietary, powerful, FDA-approved treatments to precisely target your affected areas, to provide cushion and lubrication that helps deliver long-lasting pain relief in shoulders, hips, elbows, and knees. I'm Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Pain Clinics. We're in-network with most major insurance plans, including Medicare and Medicaid. We can alleviate your pain, and that'll rejuvenate your life. It's pain relief, really.
Rejuvenex. Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
Haul away big savings this weekend at Fleet Farm's Truckload Savings Event. Like 40-pound bags of superior hardwood fuel pellets, 2 for $11. Morton Clean and Protect water softener pellets are only $5.89 a bag. Save on 40 pounds of black oil sunflower seed, just $18.99. And get a free $15 Fleet Farm gift card with select Science Diet pet food. Stock up on everything you need for everyday life at Fleet Farm.
Are you looking for the perfect restaurant for your next night out? Then make Aria, the acclaimed restaurant inside St. Kate, your next dinner destination. Specializing in artisanal American cuisine, Aria features carefully prepared seasonal entrees along with a robust selection of craft cocktails, wine, and local beer. Join them on Sundays for the restaurant's famous trademark chicken, served family style with sides like mashed potatoes, goat cheese biscuits, and more. Make your plans today to dine at Aria. Learn more and make reservations at aria@stkate.com. That's aria@stkate.com.
Welcome back to Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
855-616-1620. Look, the devil is always in the details. And I guess the fundamental question is this community better off having a Major League Baseball team here? Yes. And I say that, look, I'm a baseball fan, but putting that aside, if you just look at the economic activity, the jobs that Miller Park, American Family Field, generates, not just at the stadium itself, but whenever I go there, I'm always blown away by the number of shuttle buses that are coming from area restaurants, etc. And these are people that wouldn't be going to those restaurants if there wasn't a game. Now, I understand there's some people out there who argue, well, they'd be spending the money on something else, so it maybe not. Who knows exactly? But all I know is that it's motivating people to go to these different bars, to go to these different restaurants, to spend their various money. And if you've ever been at American Family Field or Miller Park during the playoffs or an opening day in something, you see the excitement, you see the jobs it's creating. We're clearly better off for doing that. If the Brewers leave, you have a taxpayer-owned empty stadium. Now, maybe you can put in a couple concerts or something like that, but you're going to lose all that activity. And just like, You mean if County Stadium had not been replaced with Miller Park, you'd have this big, aging, falling apart, empty stadium. You do need, and I understand there's people saying, oh, it's only 20-some years old, why do you have to maintain it? Well, you do. You have to maintain it. Things wear out. Things need to be replaced. Things need to be upgraded. It's all that different type of stuff. And you might think that, okay, $570 million is a lot over the course of the next 25 years. I don't. That's not what I do for a living, but it is over the course of the next 25 years. I mean, think about your own house. Okay, you've got a house that's 20 or 25 years old. You're going to have to make adjustments. I guarantee you, unless you're really, really lucky, you're going to need a new furnace. You're going to need a new air conditioner. You're going to need a water heater. You're going to need new refrigerators. You're probably maybe you're going to have to replace your deck. You're going to have to upgrade the windows. This is just the reality of what happens as buildings age. Let's start with Sarah in Cedarbrook. Sarah, you're first. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm a big Brewer fan. I'm a big Packer fan, and people come from all over the state. I mean, it's just not Milwaukee County and Milwaukee. I live in Cedarburg. I mean, it's all over, and they come. We needed this to happen, and I'm so glad they've come up to some conclusion or an agreement or whatever to keep it, because we need them. It's our namesake. The Milwaukee Brewers. Are you kidding me? They're noted all over. We travel all over, and I have a Brewer hat, and I'm in some foreign country, and they know that. Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, goodness gracious.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm so glad they came to some conclusion.
Yeah, thanks. Well, they're not there yet. I mean, but this is, I think it is a really, really good framework. The Assembly's passed it. The Senate will take this up in the relatively near future, and they might tweak it, but they might not. I mean, because I think this is a deal that you were able to get bipartisan support in the state assembly, and you never get bipartisan support for anything in the state assembly. And but you were able to have this agreement. Now, look, I understand the argument that it's corporate welfare. And Mark Attanasio bought them for whatever, and now they're worth $1.6 billion. Why should we have to do this? Well, the reason you have to do it is, again, if Mark Attanasio owned the stadium and the Brewers owned the stadium, it would be a different story. But we, and I say we, all of us taxpayers in the state of Wisconsin, we're landlords, and you have to maintain properties. And so my question... See, this is one of the recurring questions I've been asking lately about, okay, what happens next? Let's say you shoot this down. Let's say they weren't able to reach an agreement. What happens next? Okay, well, the Brewers say you can't get an agreement, and here our lease expires in 2030, and we're going to leave. Okay, well, maybe they're not serious, but let's say they do. All right, so the Brewers leave in 2030 because you couldn't get this agreement, and then what happens? The stadium is empty. All right, well, yes, we can put a couple concerts there, but by the way, we still have to make the repairs in the roofs. We still have to upgrade the mechanicals. We still have to spend all this money, but now we're only getting a couple concerts that come in. And by the way, the attractiveness of the stadium decreases as it becomes less and less a state-of-the-art facility. 855-616-1620. Let's talk to Bill in Racine. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Jeff. I don't know PTAC very well, but I'm very familiar with the vote and everything that went down with that. What really puzzled me was that after he did the right thing, why did the Democrats go after him and call him a traitor and do this campaign against him and that campaign? I'm in Racine County.
Right.
We were right there. They took him out at the knees.
Oh, yeah.
And he lost his seat. That was not right. Period.
Well, Bill, you're preaching to the choir. George Petak. Okay, I don't want to overstate this and say he was a friend of mine, but George Petak and I got to know each other reasonably well. 1993, 1994, and I think he was a great legislator. And his vote to authorize Miller Park is what I would classify as his version of a profile in courage, because he knew the vote was going to be unpopular and would be used as a political weapon against him. But in his heart of hearts, he believed it was the right thing to do. And I think history has proven him right, that it was ultimately the right thing to do. Now, as to why the other side, the Democrats, went after him, well, it's because they could. I mean, at this time, see, this is one of the things that's changed, and I offer this as the kind of institutional memory. Back then, control of the state Senate flipped back and forth. It was very, very close. Maybe you'd have 17 Republicans and 16 Democrats, or 17 Democrats and 16 Republicans. It flipped back and forth. Now it's overwhelmingly controlled by Republicans. But back at the time, you had Democrats that very, very much wanted to take control of the state Senate, and by taking Republican George Petak out for the flip-flop on his vote, it allowed them, at least temporarily, to have control of the state Senate. And it went back and forth. That was a very, very contentious time. Not that this isn't a contentious time in state politics, but a very, very contentious time where control of the Assembly and the state Senate would flip-flop back and forth, as opposed to the solid Republican control that's been for the longest time. But, Petak knew it was coming. And there's a lot of people that worked very, very hard to try to help George save his job. But it didn't work out. But, I think ultimately he ended up doing the right thing. But it did cost him his job. And I think, a lot of people back then who were anti-Petak and supported the recall effort, let's take him out. I think, a number of those moving forward would probably, if you put them under oath, would probably not feel that they ended up doing the right thing. Okay, in any event, that is the update on this. It appears that we're not at the finish line, but for those of you who want to see the Milwaukee Brewers continue to stay for the next 2.5 decades, it looks like we are a lot closer. The race has not been won, but I don't know, maybe they're rounding third. Okay, when we come back, well, lots of stuff. Don't go anywhere. This is Jeff Wagner, WTMJ.
Don't go anywhere. Jeff Wagner is back right after this.
WTMJ's John Mercure here. Join me as we count down to the RNC in Milwaukee. We'll talk to the biggest names across the political landscape. Senior political reporter from TMJ4 News, Charles Benson.
Got a sense of, how Milwaukee was enthusiastic about this convention.
Full podcast available on WTMJ.com or text RNC to the Old National Bank talk and text line 855-616-1620 and get a link sent directly to you. It's the countdown to the RNC podcast, only here on WTMJ.
For over 6 decades, Blaine's Farm and Fleet's Toyland has made wishes come true for everyone. Now through Wednesday, we're celebrating with great gifts at great prices throughout the store. Like personal care holiday gift sets starting at $9.99, 4-piece Gibson Home cast iron skillet sets half price, and Bluey talking plush or convertible play sets just $17.99. Plus, donate new unwrapped toys to Kids Helping Kids and we'll match gifts up to $250,000. Blaine's Farm and Fleet's Toyland, where wishes come true for everyone.
Do the changing seasons have you dreaming of that perfect sun-kissed getaway? From the Caribbean and Mexico to Hawaii or Florida, Fox World Travel's expert travel advisors can recommend their favorite beach resorts with Delta Vacations or island-hopping cruises with Holland America and Celebrity Cruises. What are you waiting for? Don't miss out on the best savings of the season. Visit foxworldtravel.com or call 866-GO-FOX-GO. There are memories to be made, and Fox has the expertise to get you there.
It's WTMJ's Debbie Loziga for Comfort Awnings. You've heard me talk about the wonderful new retractable awning the team at Comfort Awnings installed at my home. Now I can have all the cookouts and get-togethers in my backyard with some extra shade and relaxation for my guests. Comfort Awnings is a local family-owned company in Burlington. It provides expert installation in southeast Wisconsin and northern Illinois. Right now, you'll receive a free motor with the purchase of awnings or screens until the end of October. Call 414-AWNINGS for a free estimate or visit comfortawnings.com.
Old National Bank.
I just got your home equity loan, and this feeling of joy and exhilaration overcame me.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon we call getting old.
Wow, so I'm not the only one?
No, small business owners feel it with expansion loans. Families feel it when they're setting up trusts and 529s. Nonprofits who need financing to help the community. And anyone who needs investment advice, they all feel it.
So it's not just me?
No, you're in a pretty big club.
Like a club I can join?
I really don't.
Is there at least a secret handshake?
Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Old National. Get old. Member FDIC.
Welcome back to Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
A couple of people are asking, what is the Brewers' rent? $1.2 million per year is what I believe. I'm looking at the original lease agreement. I don't know if it's been modified, but $1.2 million a year is what I believe they end up paying in rent, and I don't know what they would be paying under the new agreements if they were to pass. But right now, I think it's $1.2 million as far as they play. Okay, this is maybe in the category of no good deed goes unpunished. Interesting story on Fox 6, and this is it's a local story, but I'm curious as to what your reaction to this is. It is of course Halloween, and some people decide that they're going to put up a few decorations. At our place, my wife puts out pumpkins and things like that. But some people get more involved in this, and they decorate their yards. And some people kind of get carried away with how they decorate their yards with all sorts of stuff that's out there, which brings me to a home in West Dallas on 98th and Montana that's owned by the Novak family, Adam and Patty Novak, and it's called Novak Manor. They began decorating the yard in 2012, and they started by putting scarecrows and things like that out. And now, over the years, it has sort of taken a life of its own. So now there is an extensive display that's out there, and it has become an attraction. So people go to see all the different stuff that they've put up for Halloween. So here's the deal. Earlier this year, they filed a permit with the city of West Dallas. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to get approval so that people could stop on the sidewalks and look at the displays that they had. And so in order to get that, you needed a special event permit, and that special event permit lets visitors block the right of way. So you can, gather on the sidewalks to kind of look at the display. All right, fine. So they thought they had this all taken care of. Well, what's been happening, though, is you have people who haven't been content with just stopping on the sidewalk to look at all the display that's on the lawn. They've actually been walking on the lawn. They've been going onto the property to get closer looks at the stuff that's there. The people that put this up, the Novaks, they're cool with this. This is, they put up this display. They want people to go come and look at this. And one of the other things they do, just like Candy Cane Lane, over the holidays, what they do is, they accept donations. And they take the money and they put it to Bikers Advocating Child Safety, which supports child abuse survivors. So what happens is, people will come and they'll look and they'll see this and they'll drop $5 in the bucket or whatever they might end up doing. So that's the idea. So they thought they had all their I's dotted and T's crossed. Well, what happens is apparently they have received a complaint because they are allowing people to go onto the lawn. So here's what the city of West Dallas says. In January of 2023, Novak Manor applied for and the city granted a special event permit for Novak Manor to operate a charity haunt, allowing people to view the Halloween display from the public right-of-way. On October 15, 2023, the city of West Dallas received a complaint regarding the impact of Novak Manor's home haunt, calling attention to the fact that Novak Manor was allowing visitors to enter the property. The special event permit that was granted, however, is to allow visitors to block the right-of-way. It does not allow visitors to enter the property or enter structures on the property due to the residential zoning code. The property owners have been informed about what the special event permit and regulations allow. In an effort to balance community support for this event with code requirements, the city will not take enforcement action for the remainder of the 2023 event season. So in other words, they're going to allow people to continue to walk onto the property, but they're saying, okay, this is a violation, and it might be moving forward that we have to shut you down. Our number is 855-616-1620, which is the Old National Bank talk and text line. I guess I have a couple thoughts on this. First of all being, who would complain? I mean, seriously, who would complain? They've got the permit that allows people to gather in front of the house on the sidewalk. They've got them, and it allows them to block the sidewalk. So who would complain about them letting people actually come on to the property. Now, if there's issues with people who are trespassing on neighbors' property or something, that might be something different. But that's not what this complaint is. It's just right now you're allowing people to come onto the property. So number one, who would complain about this? But I guess number two, and I appreciate West Dallas saying, okay, at the moment, technically this is outside the scope of the permit, but we're not going to enforce it for the balance of this season, Halloween coming up in a couple weeks. Our number is 855-616-1620. Do you see anything wrong if the city were to allow people to not just gather on the sidewalk and look at this, but also actually, heaven forbid, for the duration of the Halloween season, walk on the sidewalk and walk on the property? 855-616-1620. To me, this seems like a complete and total no-brainer. The city is right to let people do it. And unless, again, if this is a neighbor saying, hey, I have people trespassing here, that's something different. But, I mean, short of that, what's the beef with letting people come onto the front yard to get a better look at the pumpkins or the scarecrows or whatever? 855-616-1620. We discuss in a moment.
Don't go anywhere. Jeff Wagner is back right after this on WTMJ.
This is Brad Yumberg with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. There's a lot of fluff around window sales, but what really matters is the type of people you choose to have working for you. That's why I want to highlight Semper Fi's own CJ Callies. He's been selling, measuring, installing, and managing window installations for 35 plus years. He has a depth of knowledge that allows him to see problems before they happen, and I swear, I think the guy can see behind walls. He's easy to work with, and I can't think of a customer who hasn't liked working with him, and he really is the kind of guy you're going to want on your job. CJ's in charge of our entire window and door division, and you can be assured he's going to have his hands on your project. Most companies focus on the product. At Semper Fi, we focus on our people and you, and that's never let us down. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, call Semper Fi, because you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
Keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi!
It's a city from a fairy tale on the Mediterranean Sea.
Netanya, the city of diamonds.
And in this city of diamonds lived a crazy genius named Moses Hadara.
Moses was a mathematician,
a diamond cutter,
and a bit of a theoretical physicist.
Albert Einstein devised a formula, E equals mc squared.
Albert's formula unleashed the power locked inside an atom.
Moses' formula unleashed the power locked inside a diamond.
Moses began with star facets,
kite facets,
upper girdle facets,
lower girdle facets,
and pavilion facets.
But then a voice told him to add 24 new facets, the Moses facets.
When he cut the final one,
Shazam!
Moses unleashed an explosion of light.
That dazzling diamond is known today as the Kessler 81.
See it for yourself.
See it for yourself.
See it for yourself.
At Kessler's.
To find the Kesslers nearest you, visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
This is Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
855-616-1620. This just strikes me as no good deed goes unpunished, because here you have these folks, they're running this charity haunted house, and they turn their property into this. One of our texters says that he's actually been there. He said, what happened is they also have volunteer actors who dress as Michael Myers and Jason. You walk through their property, and then you go into their garage. He said it does take up a lot of parking on the streets, and maybe if I lived in that neighborhood, I would be upset, but not living in that neighborhood, I thought it was a lot of fun. Well, the problem is, it is public street parking, so people are going to, is it an attraction? Yes, it's an attraction, but if you're going to let it exist in the first place, and the only question is, do people have to look at it from the sidewalk or not? You're still going to have people coming there. You're still going to have all the different parking issues. I guess I think, again, absent evidence, if you've got, for example, a neighbor who's complaining because, their grounds are being trespassed on or something like that, that's a reasonable thing. And I think it's fair to say, okay, what are you going to do to make sure that people aren't walking all over my yard or in my flower beds or something like that because you want to see this? But just the idea that, you're letting people onto the property, I don't know. I'd lump that in the category of lighten up, Francis. Diane in West Dallas. Diane, you're on WTMJ. Hello.
Hi, Jeff. How you doing?
Good. What do you think?
Well, absolutely, they should be able to keep it. This property is actually in the Candy Cane Lane area. So more than likely it was a neighbor that complained, but it makes no sense to me because if they allow Candy Cane Lane to, occur, why not this? And my other thoughts are, they're going to be parking on the street where what's different with Candy Cane Lane, they just keep the traffic going through and they don't stop. But there's a lot of things they could do to resolve that issue. I'm a former member of the Princess Fantasy House, and what we used to do and what they're still doing is they get somebody to donate some sort of bus, a school bus, a shuttle bus of some kind. They park it at some other location near the event and shuttle people over there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they could do to resolve the parking problem.
Yeah, if that's it. No, thanks. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that you could do, Diane. But again, I wonder if this, I still find myself wondering if this is, as we say, is this a solution that's looking for a problem? Also, and a number of people are raising this issue. This is the same West Dallas. All right, just imagine for all of you who've been to the Wisconsin State Fair. All right, you drive around and you can park at the State Fair, but it is a cottage industry. People who live within a couple blocks of the State Fair, what do many of them do? Well, they allow people to park on their front lawn, right? You drive past the State Fair and you see people with the flags and they're waving and it's $10 to park here, it's $25 to park here or whatever. And you have people who do that. I seriously wonder whether all those people who are inviting people onto their front lawn to park, whether all of them have like special event permits or whether, and I don't know the answer to it. I mean, maybe every one of them is licensed, but my guess is a lot of people are just, hey, it's the first day of the State Fair. Let's go out and let's park cars and let's make a whole bunch of money. And nobody is really harmed by that. And I don't know that the city regulates that. Now, I'm willing to be corrected if everybody that parks cars has to go get a special event permit to allow people to come onto their property. But it seems to me that this is a very similar thing. And by the way, I don't want to come down too hard on West Dallas because what West Dallas has decided to do is, even though this is technically not within the parameters of the permit they have, they're not going to shut it down because they think it's a good cause. Jeff, I'm thinking things could get out of hand with having other holiday displays. A neighborhood is not an entertainment center, and you might feel differently if it was in your neighborhood. Well, it depends on what it was. But as a general rule, no, I'm not going to be this Grinch. It's not like it's something that's run year round. They put it up for Halloween. I assume it is taken down shortly after Halloween. I would much rather, if you're asking me what I would be upset about, I'd be much more upset about the neighbor that's got the car up on blocks and the 3 washing machines and the stove sitting in the front lawn. Jeff, you could say the same about, Candy Cane Lane. And, well, I think, that's the argument as well here. Jeff, I live in West Dallas. I go to many rummage sales, yard sales, etc. No permit needed. Well, I guess that's another fair question. If you're having a rummage sale at your house and you put all the stuff out in your front lawn and out in your driveway, do you need a special event permit to allow people to come onto your property to look at the stuff that you have set up on the tables? Or do people just have to stand, on the sidewalk and look at it? I mean, I think a fair question. Jeff, we attend every year. Went 2 weeks ago. It was a nice time. What's the difference between this and Candy Cane Lane? People walk on yards to do pictures too. When we went to the house, everything is on a path. We didn't go to anyone's yard but theirs. We even bought jewelry and candy there. It was a fun night. Well, again, I've never been there, but it sounds like this is just something that these folks are doing. It's creative. And by the way, they're not doing it for personal profit. They're doing it, again, to raise money for charity and for people to have a good time. And if this is running at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's a whole different story. But if you're running this for reasonable hours for a few weeks at a time, I'd say to the neighbors, just kind of embrace this. And I don't get the sense that there's lots of neighbors who are objecting it. My guess is there's 1 or maybe 2 who's filing the complaints who probably didn't like it that they got the special use permit in the first place. To me, again, lighten up, Francis. Back with more in just a minute. This is Jeff Wagner.
Don't go anywhere. Jeff Wagner is back right after this.
Hi, this is Wayne Larrabee, the voice of Green Bay football. You know, fans count on me to make the right call every time, and I can continue to do that thanks to Summit Eye Care of Wisconsin. When my vision began to drift, my eye doctor said Summit Eye Care was the best place to go. Using the latest adjustable implants, the doctors at Summit were able to fine-tune my vision. In fact, my vision is now the best it's ever been. Summit Eye Care was the right call to help me see all the action on game days.
To schedule an appointment at one of their locations, visit summitiwi.com. Hey,
this is WTMJ's Jeff Wagner for the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin's Health Network. Lifelong mobility is dependent upon healthy joints. We talked to Dr. Michael Decker, an orthopedic surgeon with the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network this month. We learned how timely treatment of joint problems can help keep you moving, why these conditions are so common. We also learned about non-surgical options and much more. Listen to that conversation and all our previous everyday health discussions simply by visiting the features drop-down menu at WTMJ.com.
Haul away big savings this weekend at Fleet Farm's Truckload Savings Event. Like 40-pound bags of superior hardwood fuel pellets, 2 for $11. Morton Clean and Protect water softener pellets are only $5.89 a bag. Save on 40 pounds of black oil sunflower seed, just $18.99. And get a free $15 Fleet Farm gift card with select Science Diet pet food. Stock up on everything you need for everyday life at Fleet Farm.
Hello, it's licensed health insurance agent Mark Christensen, CISMedicare.com, independent Medicare agent, 16 years. We work with 14 companies, 74 plans. Now is the time to review numerous Medicare plan benefit changes. Call me at 262-302-1133 or go to CISMedicare.com and say yes to CIS.
Say yes to CIS.
This is a solicitation. We do not offer every plan. Contact 1-800-MEDICARE for more info.
Since 1964, we've changed your tires and so much more. Richland's Tire and Service, such a refreshing change. Richland's.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Steve and Ashley heard our radio ads over the years, and when it came time to buy their first home, clicked on the blue button back in June. Senior loan consultant Brad Kramer issued a credit-verified pre-approval the same day and then upgraded to a rock-solid, fully verified and guaranteed pre-approval shortly thereafter. Well, they made a couple offers without success, and then Brad told them about our brand-new property-specific pre-approval letter where we might be able to include those magic words, no appraisal required. When they wrote their next offer at $30,000 over asking to make sure someone else didn't end up sleeping in their dream home, their updated rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval included the phrase that pays in the eyes and ears of the seller, and that translated to donedeal.com. If you think all mortgage companies and pre-approvals are the same, think again. Go with the local mortgage lender that has the tools and the know-how to help you win and save you money, too. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
There are some things that I wouldn't do myself or try myself, but I understand why people might. And then there's this. Here's the headline in the Washington Post. He held the world record for hottest pepper. Then his Pepper X dethroned it. Ed Curry and his Pucker Butt Pepper Company. And when you're sitting around thinking about names of companies, we're going to call this the Pucker Butt Pepper Company. Created the Carolina Reaper, which bagged the Guinness World Records title for spiciest chili pepper on the planet a decade ago. Well, apparently what he did is, so after he created this Carolina Reaper, what he did is the seeds, he distributed them, he gave them to other people, and they turned it into this business. And we've talked about that, like the Reaper Challenge, where people go and buy this like super hot pepper. Well, okay, now he's topped that. He's got Pepper X. Pepper X has officially clocked in with an average of 2.69 million Scoville heat units. Far spicier than the Pansy Carolina Reaper's 1.6 million. To give you an idea, a typical jalapeno pepper averages somewhere between 3,000 to 8,000 Scoville heat units. This thing is 2.69 million. Here, let's have a couple of those. So the guy who developed this says he was the only person who's eaten an entire X pepper. He said the flavor lasts for a split second. There's brutal heat that persists for 3 hours, and then stomach cramps that go on for 4 more. Where do I get Pepper X? Just saying. This, trying to figure out, why you would develop this. This is what we frequently call trying to find a solution to a problem that does not exist. Here, I want a really, really, really hot pepper, one that's going to give me cramps for 4 hours. Well, if that's you and you want that pepper, it is now out. When we come back, let's find out what Greg Matzik and a special guest have on their minds for Wisconsin's Afternoon News.
Your way inside the huddle.
Hut one, hut two.
Without putting on any pads.